Hey guys, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. Today we will see what if neglected Naruto steals a girl from Kiba. If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments. The red marker made a loud squeak on my calendar as I crossed off the day before school started again. How exciting to think, I'd be a junior this year. This year, I promised myself I'd participate in more school activities, and talk to people other than Neji-Nisan or Kiba-kun. It was rather lonely when the two of them would hang out with other friends separately during lunch or after school, so to remedy that I vowed to find new friends to talk to. Though, that isn't to say I prefer some time to myself as well. I spend most days observing classmates. I like to believe that I'm good at reading people and their feelings. Not just good, but a professional, if I could call myself that. It's probably one of the only skills that I have confidence in. When I was younger, I was picked on quite a bit for my eyes. But Neji-Nisan cheered me up. Our eyes are special eyes. They have the power to look into people's hearts and read their emotions. If you squint slightly, it'll become more clear to you, he said. I know it isn't true at all, and he was only trying to make me feel better, but at that time, I truly did believe everything he said. And I still squint my eyes slightly to read people's feelings in class. As if I could really peer into their hearts and see how they felt. Haha. Does that make me foolish or childish? Though, I have been good at reading nervous tics or when someone is genuinely happy or sad. It's all about body language. For example, Kiba-kun's fingers twitch slightly when he lies and Neji-Nisan casually itches a spot on his neck when he is nervous. I've never told either of them that I could read them that way, because they'd end up changing their habits and I'd never be able to read them anymore. I can't quite read other people as well as I can read Neji-Nisan or Kiba-kun, but it's a little easy since they put their feelings out for everyone else to see. In our freshman year, Yamanaka-san and Haruno-san were always quarreling with one another, over very trivial things. Shouting insults such as, pig, or, forehead. Though, despite that, they seemed to be on good terms with each other, best friends even. Yamanaka-san is always in high spirits, and embraces her femininity. She can be quite vain at times, but I think she means well. Haruno-san and another girl would do some quarreling too, over Uchiha-san. I can't quite remember her name since she wasn't in our homeroom, but she had very vibrant red hair, glasses too. She was quite the troublemaker, always coming into our classroom in the morning to flirt with Uchiha-san, much to Haruno-san's disliking. And then there were those arguments between Naruto-kun and Uchiha-san. Well, mostly Naruto-kun's yelling and Uchiha-san's snide remarks here and there. It made Naruto-kun angry to no end, so much that they would almost ended up in fistfights. The two of them got detention for their fights many times. Naruto-kun. I felt my face heat up at the thought of him. He was always so loud and energetic, unwilling to take anything lying down. Sure, he could be a bit of a troublemaker, but I really do like him. In elementary school, I've always tried my best to talk to him or to be even a friend, but I'm too shy. I can't even read his feelings from afar either. His feelings are always shouted out of a megaphone and put on display for all the world to see, and I still can't read him well. I think it's because it's hard for me to look at him a lot of the time. I can, however, read Naruto-kun's most obvious feelings, the biggest being his love for Haruno-san. She never takes him seriously though, always knocking him into tomorrow when she's extremely irritated. I mean, I can see why Naruto-kun harbors feelings towards her. Despite her hot-headedness, she's rather cheerful, very pretty and pretty smart too. Many boys would be lucky to have her. During the few chances I've spoken to Lee-san, with Neji-Nisan of course, he'd go on about her beauty and youthful spirit. I guess she's got youth going for her as well. Lee-san even pointed out to me that I should let my youthful spirit shine out too, because I look quite glum. Neji-Nisan scolded him, but I think Lee-san was right. I haven't been at my happiest, I suppose. Part of it has to do with Naruto-kun, and how terrible I am at confessing my feelings towards him, but also at how disappointed I am at myself because I'm letting a boy make me feel this way. The other part of my unhappiness is probably due to me not knowing who I am, or what I really want in life. Everyone in my class seems to know what they want to do or who they are, but me, I am lost. And that really saddens me. Kiba-kun tries to cheer me up about it, telling me that I'm young and have plenty of time to think about this. If you keep stressing over it, you're not gonna have such a happy time while you're young, are ya? He laughed. I guess it's true, but telling me not to stress makes me stress even more. Sighing, I picked myself up from my desk to shut off my lights and turn in for the night. This year will be different. This year will be my time to shine bright and be the best that I can be. I'll be healthy, wise and as cheerful as ever. I will become a new Hinata and I will be able to find myself before the end of my high school career. That is my promise to myself. Content with that, I snuggled in my soft blankets before sleep took over. Oh wow, so bright, Kiba cried, squinting as he stared at Hinata. She had only a small smile on her face, head tilted to the side, and her eyes were closed. Her skin was absolutely glowing today and looked undeniably soft. Ah, Kiba-kun, don't overreact. You make it sound like I'm some kind of annoying white light. Kiba only shrugged, placing both of his hands behind his head as he leaned back in his chair. The two were already in their new homeroom class. There was about 15 more minutes until class was supposed to begin, so Kiba pulled up a chair at Hinata's desk where they chatted for a while. Well no, Kiba said finally, but you look nice. Did something happen? Hinata shook her head. She spent an hour in the bath this morning using new skincare products on her body. The words on the box said that it would help the dullest of skin to shine beautifully. Hinata deemed that it would be a great way to start out on improving herself, her appearance. No, since it's spring and everything blossoms in spring, I thought I should blossom too, right? The shaggy-haired teen raised an eyebrow in question and Hinata's confidence seemed to drain away in an instant as her smile slowly faded away. For spring huh? Why yes, for spring. Hinata countered. Are you sure it's not for a certain boy? Kiba gave a sly grin, and a light blush crossed Hinata's cheeks. That wasn't very nice of Kiba, to assume she was doing this for Naruto. She was trying to be a better person for herself, not for him. If she lived life fixing herself for Naruto, how could she ever find herself? Lowering her head, Hinata answered, yes, I'm certain. I did this for myself. A bit shakily than she hoped it would come out. Kiba's grin was washed away with a look of concern for his friend. Ah, Hinata, I didn't mean to. Oi Kiba, it's way too early in the year to be making girls cry with your ugly face. Kiba jerked his head around in annoyance while Hinata suddenly lifted her head up to the familiar voice. There stood Naruto, upright with his infamous, shit-eating grin, as Kiba so kindly put it. We were having a conversation over here. Don't you have to go pick your ass somewhere? Kiba sneered, but Naruto ignored him, crouching down as he placed his arms on Hinata's desk. Don't mind him, he may be ugly, but he's not too scary. Call me if you need me to tame the beast for you. Naruto winked. Her blush deepened and she parted her lips to say something, anything, but nothing came out. Naruto! Kiba cried, and Naruto dashed off, making his way through the rows of desks with Kiba hot on his trail. The chase went on for a few minutes or so before Sakura and her childhood friend Ino walked into class. I see we haven't grown up yet. Sakura mumbled, a quite annoyed smile gracing her lips. Oh, Sakura-chan, you're here, the blonde-haired boy cried. Before they knew it, Naruto began talking animatedly about his spring break and how beautiful Sakura looked today before walking with her to some desks over on the other side of the room. Hinata's blush had faded away at this point, and she looked straight in front of her, only listening to what Naruto had to say about his break. Soon, Kiba had returned to the desk in front of her, giving her a rather bored look. Honestly, I don't know what you see in that guy, Kiba murmured, he's so annoying. Even though he said that didn't mean that Kiba hated Naruto. The two were good friends and Hinata would even bet her allowance for 3 months that he would hang out with Naruto when lunchtime rolled around. More students began to pile in until their instructor had arrived to take attendance and give the first lesson of the day. Hinata also prided herself on her excellent note-taking skills. They were always neat, easy to read and has the most important parts of the lesson in them. No one really asked to borrow any from her except for Kiba from time to time. Everyone usually asked Sakura or Neji. Well, more Sakura than Neji because she was a lot less cold and intimidating. Hinata didn't mind though. She was so afraid of never getting her notes back or having them ruined, so not being asked saved her the trouble of stuttering foolishly before ultimately handing her notes away and worrying about them the moment they left her hand. It was now lunchtime, and Kiba had announced he, Naruto, and some other friends were going to the cafeteria to get lunch. He asked Hinata multiple times if she wanted to join them, but her answer was always no. Are you sure? We all wouldn't mind it if you ate with us. Kiba frowned, scratching the back of his head. Hinata nodded. She didn't want to be somewhere just because she was Kiba's friend. "'Kay then. Catch you after lunch is over then?" The shaggy-haired teen called over his shoulder, making his way to the door. Hinata nodded as the door slid closed, and in that moment she realized something. Now she was sitting in the classroom all by herself with her lunchbox. Maybe I made the wrong call. She sighed. Hadn't her whole plan had been to make friends so she wouldn't have to eat lunch by herself most of the time? How foolish was she, exactly? Hinata began slowly eating the contents in her lunchbox, giving most of her attention to the window. The weather wasn't warm enough to have lunch, so the courtyard was pretty empty. Just then, classroom doors harshly slid open, only to reveal a rather annoyed Ino Yamanaka. I swear, if she'd just get over herself and listen to me once in a while, she'd know I wasn't lying. The slam of the door caused a light squeak to come out of the dark-haired teen, and Ino looked up in surprise. "I'm sorry, I didn't know anyone was in here." "Huh? Why are you in here by yourself?" Ino asked, her eyes scanning the room before landing on the lone Hyuga at the desk by the window. Hinata swallowed hard. She knew why she was in here, but to let Ino know the real reason would be embarrassing. I just wanted to be alone." She mentally kicked herself. This was not how people made friends. But to her surprise, Ino smiled. "What a coincidence, me too." Ino approached her desk and pulled up a chair. "You mind if I sit here?" She grinned. Hinata slowly shook her head and Ino plopped down beside her, opening up her lunchbox. "Oh, that looks good. I haven't had red bean soup in a while." "Ah, yes. It's one of my favorite foods." Hinata mumbled. Someone has nice taste. Unlike Monster Forehead who'll eat anything coated in syrup." Ino said, rolling her eyes. Monster Forehead?" Hinata gulped. "Oh, Sakura," Ino said simply. Hinata could only mumble a small, "oh," before the classroom was silent again. Some time had passed between them, and Hinata was silently worrying that she was boring the poor girl. Ino, done with her lunch, was ready to dig into her pudding. Did something happen?" Hinata asked, breaking the silence. Between you two?" Ino blinked for a moment before giving a hearty sigh. She was upset Sasuke-kun wasn't in our homeroom class. Now that Hinata thought about it, she hadn't seen him anywhere and Naruto would have at least started an argument with him sometime today. "I asked around and did some digging, and found out that he transferred." She was so angry about it, she refused to believe me. "How annoying, can you believe her?" The blonde huffed, folding her arms. Although none of it was Ino's fault, Hinata could still see why Sakura was so upset. A boy that she really liked left all of a sudden. She probably didn't even get to confess properly like she wanted to. Hinata would have been devastated if it were her and Naruto in that position. Haruno-san must have really loved Uchiha-san, huh? Hinata asked, mostly just thinking aloud, but Ino decided to answer her. I guess. I dunno why she just doesn't give it up. He's not really all that great, and it's a pain getting into all those arguments with Karen over him. Ino took another spoonful out of her pudding. I don't understand how she's got so much energy to keep up with all that. I sure don't. Just then, Hinata blinked. Oh yeah, didn't you like Uchiha-san as well? Yes, it had been true. In elementary and middle school, Ino and Sakura would constantly argue over Sasuke and get into little physical fights that included hair pulling and face grabbing. Ino gave Hinata a blank look for a moment, and all her shyness returned. "Oh, I am sorry if I was prying. I didn't mean to." Ino gave a small laugh. "Relax, I'm not mad at you. I was just remembering what dark days those were." Hinata let out a small sigh of relief. "But enough about him. I've been meaning to tell you, your skin looks really nice." Oh, really?" Hinata blushed as Ino nodded vigorously, giving her a bright smile. "What do you use? I want to try. Can we go to the mall to find some maybe?" You want to go to the mall with me?" Hinata blinked. "I've never really had a friend who was a girl before. If we could even call each other friends." That day was the first time we actually held a conversation. Yamanaka-san was super ecstatic about our date at the mall, as she put it. "I think that this will be good for me. Kiba-kun and Neji-Nisan are great friends, but they aren't girls, so they wouldn't understand certain things. Like a girl's desire to change herself for herself. When we chatted, Yamanaka-san talked about perming her hair or buying new makeup products, and when I asked her why she wanted to do those things, she laughed and said, "To make myself even more beautiful, of course, Tilda. I like looking my absolute best." What? Did you think it was to impress a boy? Then she laughed even harder. Yamanaka-san sure is interesting. We agreed to go to the mall 3 weeks from that day. She had to help her parents run their flower shop that weekend and the weekend after, and I had to go to an important ceremony with my father the weekend after that. I feared that after the first day of school, Yamanaka-san would have forgotten that I existed due to how quickly she makes up with Haruno-san, but the opposite happened. She sat with me to have lunch the next day, and then 2 days after that. I was very grateful to her for that. The next week, she would always ask me before homeroom had started if I was available to have lunch with her. No one ever asked me before she did, so I always ended up saying yes to her and reassuring Neji-Nissan and Kiba-kun that I didn't hate them. Because of that, Neji-Nissan would ask to eat together before we left the estate in the morning, and Kiba-kun would find me after school to make me promise I'd have lunch with him the next day. For the first few weeks of school, I was actually smiling. I managed to make a new friend who I was beginning to be myself around. I was laughing at Kiba-kun's jokes harder than I ever had. I was actually feeling happy. "Ah, Hinata-chan, you made it," Ino called from the entrance of the mall. Hinata had to say, Ino was very fashionable. She wore a very cute spaghetti-strapped black dress which stopped just above her knees. The dress was very narrow towards the top and flared out towards the bottom. She wore a large-ish, plush-looking white sweater over it and white stockings to match. Ino's hair was also curled, and Hinata noticed she was wearing very light makeup today. Boy, Ino must dress to impress wherever she went, Hinata supposed. "Hello Yamanaka-san. I hope I didn't keep you waiting." Ino could only snort. "Oh please, Yamanaka-san's kind of embarrassing." "Ino's fine." Ino?" Hinata asked, slightly unsure of herself. Ino nodded. Bowing this time, Hinata cried, "I'm sorry, Ino." You don't have to bow either." Hinata slowly opened her eyes and murmured a small sorry before really taking a look at Ino's shoes. Standing upright finally, Hinata asked, Heels?" Ino nodded. These are my shopping heels." She hummed. "Shopping heels? Wow, Ino really was a fashionista. And she was probably good at bargaining too, considering how energetic she was." Hinata could see it now. "Oi, old man, that cute pink skirt, how much is it?" The old merchant would be calculating the price at the register. "Your total is 6,000 yen, missy." 6,000. Make it cheaper." She would cry, raising her fists in determination. Alright, 3,000? Cheaper." Ino would cry. The merchant would be on the verge of tears. 1,800. Soon, Ino's heel would find its way digging into the back of the old man as he lay on the floor in tears. Ino would wave her newly bought skirt, for 1,800 yen, in her hand as if it were a flag. "Yatta, I did it. Bargain hunter Yamanaka does it again." Sparkles lit up in Hinata's eyes as she thought it over again. "Ah, bargain hunter Yamanaka," she muttered. Ino could only give a jaded look. "I dunno what you're imagining, but it's making me sound like a penny pincher, so drop it." Just then Hinata came to her senses, giving a very apologetic look. As they walked into very expensive-looking boutique, Ino whispered, "But you aren't wrong about me getting good deals. Watch this." With that, Ino picked up some of the most expensive clothing she could find and sauntered up to the register, her eyes shining brighter than Hinata had ever seen them. "Oh, is this all for today, miss?" the young man at the cash register asked. Ino twirled her freshly curled locks around her index finger, looking unsure for a slight moment. "Well," she murmured. The cashier motioned for her to continue. "I'd like one more thing." "You," she whispered flirtatiously, with a wink. The cashier seemed like putty in her hands. Shocked, Hinata covered her mouth with both her hands, so her sound of disbelief wouldn't bring the guy working the cash register back to his right state of mind. She watched everything Ino was doing, from the sway of her hips, to the playing with her hair to the closeness between her and the boy. It was like that video of the Spider Queen entrapping and eating its prey that Shino showed her 2 summers ago, except this one was a lot less gruesome to watch. Snapping out of her thoughts, she realized Ino had been running towards her, with 2 medium-sized shopping bags. "Let's get out of here," Ino chuckled. "I got them for free, Tilda." "You did what?" Hinata hissed, but Ino shushed her, gently pushing her out of the store before the love-struck cashier could think any better. But how? Hinata cried. Ino gave a haughty laugh before striking a pose. That's because you have to use your appeal. You should try it too, Hinata-chan. Appeal huh? Hinata was sure she didn't have any. She grimaced at the thought. I don't have any. Ino blinked. But you're totally cute. You could score some stuff that way. I don't want to score stuff in any way, I just want to buy. Oh, it's Hinata and Inu. That familiar, slightly raspy voice called out to them, and in that instant, Hinata wanted to vanish. Of all places, he just had to be here. Hinata hid herself behind a very enraged Ino. My name is Ino, stop addressing me with that stupid nickname. She cried, pointing her finger at him. Naruto only chuckled. My bad. But, how come you two are here? I thought you'd be hanging out with Sakura-chan, as usual. Naruto asked, purely out of curiosity. Forehead isn't my only friend Naruto, sheesh. Hinata-chan and I are shopping, if you must know. And what are you doing here? Weren't you just complaining yesterday that you didn't have money? Naruto scowled. Don't go bringing that up in a public place. And for your information, I'm hanging out with Sai today. Hinata and Ino scanned the mall as far as their eyes could see, but there was no sign of Sai anywhere. Feeling a little more relaxed, Hinata removed herself from her hiding spot behind Ino. I don't see him, Hinata murmured. Surprised at this, Naruto turned around to find that Sai was in fact nowhere to be seen. Where the hell did he go then? You shouldn't have to make up friends to impress us, Naruto. Ino teased. Naruto fumed. Like hell I would. He wanted me to come with him to the art supply store, but everything he brought up to the register was way too expensive, so the owner ended up kicking us out. He was just behind me up until a minute ago, but now here I am, Sai said simply, just a few inches away from the side Naruto's face. The blonde teen let out a cry of surprise before reflexes took over, punching Sai square in the face. Hinata let out a small squeak while Ino sighed and slapped her forehead. Sai's eyes closed for a moment and then they opened. Ouch, he spoke in a low voice. Why did you hit me for? Why'd I hit you? Naruto cried, shaking his fists. Why do you always insist on being too close to me? And where the hell did you go? Oh, Sai began. I decided to go back and ask the manager for lower prices. And how'd that turn out? He said if he saw me again he'd kick me out for good. Ah, the two girls could only look at each other and exchange small smiles. If only Ino was there. I'm sure she could bargain with the owner. Hinata suggested meekly. Just then stars began to shine in Ino's eyes. Hey, don't you two think that Hinata-chan is really cute? Hinata flushed a light shade of red before taking her hiding spot behind Ino. Ino. Today was not the day to do this. Compared to Ino, Hinata was looking quite underdressed, with her lavender oversized hoodie, white jeans and sneakers. She prayed to God that Naruto wouldn't answer that question. What? I'm just asking, Ino said innocently. Why though? Naruto asked. Because, I want her to follow in my footsteps. Raising her bags a little, Ino grinned. I just scored these for free all by flirting with the cashier. Pretty Greek kya. What are you doing? The blonde cried as Sai grabbed onto her wrist tightly. You had to come with me. You're my only hope of finishing my art projects on time. Ino couldn't even protest before she was dragged off by Naruto's pale friend. And just like that, they were gone. I swear, that guy should have signed up the track team or something. Anyway, looks like it's just us now, I guess. Naruto sighed before giving Hinata a warm smile. She could have sworn she was melting at that point. Unable to speak at the moment, she gave a slight nod. The two walked around aimlessly for a while, Naruto with his arms behind his head looking up at the ceiling and Hinata holding her hands in front of her, staring at her shoes. You know, Naruto began, sometimes I get the feeling you don't really like me all that much. His tone wasn't angry sounding or sad, but it sounded like he was just thinking aloud. What should she do? Confess? Right then and there? No. She didn't have the strength or courage to do that. Tell him that he was the worst and run off to the art supply store to find Ino? No, that wouldn't be very nice of her. What to do? Hinata? I don't dislike you. And not at all. Why, you're very nice, and I'm so sorry, she cried, bowing. Naruto, surprised at her actions, looked around him, and at all the judgmental stared and murmurs starting to be thrown his way. Did he confess to her? And she rejected him, she's even apologizing too. Poor thing, why can't he take no for an answer and beat it? Is he harassing her? I'll call an on-duty officer. Panicking, Naruto shook Hinata's shoulders lightly. Ah, Hinata, why you're causing a scene? I am not mad, honest. Let's just get out of here before they kill me. Taking a seat on one of the benches on the second floor, Naruto sighed in relief. That was close. Casting his sight on Hinata, Naruto frowned a bit. Seriously though, did I do something to you? You're always avoiding me at school. It always bothered him too. Hinata always sat with Kiba willingly for lunch, but as soon as Naruto joined them, she always had something to do or someplace to be. Whenever they were paired up for sports teams, Hinata would go out of her way to request a new partner or become suddenly ill. Now, Naruto wasn't sure if she was a good actress or just got violently ill around him, and frankly he wasn't too keen on finding out which one it was. They both sounded horrible. Hinata began, breaking his thoughts completely. And no, you didn't. I didn't want to get in the way of anything. Huh? Well, I'm not really a social butterfly. And I'm not the greatest at sports or anything, and you're really good at those things. So I don't want to get in the way of anything. Well, it wasn't completely a lie. She wasn't comfortable being paired up in sports events with anyone but Neji or Kiba because they didn't mind her screw-ups or anything. But going into their friend circles was going a bit far. She didn't want people to take pity on her because she hardly had friends. Still, this was not the only reason why she avoided him. She was simply too shy to face him head-on, but he didn't need to know that. Then, Naruto did the most surprising thing ever. He grabbed a hold of her hand. Shocked, Hinata tried to pull it away, but Naruto kept his grip ever so firm. She looked at him as he gave a warm smile. Don't worry, Hinata, you're not getting in the way of anything. We'll be great friends, and we'll help each other out. Really? Of course. Don't you believe me, Hinata? How could I say no to that bright smiling face and that warm tone? I couldn't. I wanted to believe we would be good friends, I really did. But I think Naruto-kun's attention span doesn't have enough time for me. I didn't even have much time to dwell on it at the mall, because Sai-san and Ino had come back with the supplies he needed, and for half price too. Still though, I knew it wouldn't be able to work out. Even on Monday, when we came back to school, Naruto continued to pay me no mind at all, as usual. You can't sit here. What? Why the hell not? Oh no. Your presence is not needed here. What the hell is that supposed to mean? No. Are you that stupid that I need to spell it out for you? Hinata and I do not want you here. Leave. Hinata gave a light gasp before reaching her hand out to her cousin. Neji Nissan. That's too cruel. Well, he's not understanding any other way. Today was Monday, the week after Hinata's mall trip with Ino. Neji had asked Hinata if she wanted to have lunch together, to catch up since he had been so busy in student council. Hinata readily agreed, getting a chance to finally speak to her cousin at school for more than a minute. Today, Naruto just so happened to decide that he actually wanted to spend time with her. He took it upon himself to insert himself in their spot in the classroom and put his arm around Hinata's shoulder, animatedly talking about how much fun they had at mall last weekend. He was a little too close, if you ask Neji. Annoyed at how rudely Naruto interjected himself and ignoring Neji in the process, the Hyuga harshly lashed out, saying that Naruto had no class or respect. And that brings us up to speed. Oh, I understand perfectly. I understand that you're an asshole. Naruto barked. Naruto-kun, Hinata spoke softly. Feeling a little guilty, Naruto placed his hand on top of her own. Sorry, Hinata, but this guy really needs to learn his place. Why's he making decisions for you? I don't think I'm the one who needs to learn my place. Also, take your hand off of her. It's rude. Oh, you don't like when I touch her? Naruto grinned before jumping into her lap. Neji stood up suddenly, horrified. Uzumaki, stop at this instant. Hinata couldn't move. Her body was stiff, and her face was never quite as red in this moment than in any other moment in her life. Scratch that. Naruto made it worse when he began rubbing his cheek against hers. I'm touching her. Oi Hinata, are you Oka, Gyak? The chair had leaned back too far. Both Naruto and Hinata had fallen on the floor, Naruto pressing all of his weight on her. Hinata. Well, she was awake for a few more moments, hearing a, Naruto, get up you dumbass, and a, Hinata. Are you okay? She was pretty sure it sounded like Ino, but who could really tell? Everything was fading so quickly. The last thing she remembered was Neji's voice. Probably yelling at Naruto for something. It was distant, then everything went black. When she regained consciousness, Hinata found herself wrapped in white bed sheets, and close to a window there she could see a garden? But this garden was different than the one at her home, since this one was a rose garden. The garden at Hinata's home was for growing fruits and vegetables. Also, her bed at home wasn't made up of white linen sheets. Where was she? Hinata sat up, but her head began to throb lightly. Ouch, the dark-haired teen groaned. She put her hand up to the back of her head to touch it. There had been a small bump there. She soon heard the door to the room slide open. Of course, she had to be in the infirmary. Why else would Naruto-kun be here? Right? We are, in the infirmary, right? Hinata asked, still a bit dazed. Naruto nodded. I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. I just wanted to eat lunch with you today, that's all. Hinata only waved it off. It's okay, we can do it another time, right? Oh, how about I walk you home then? He wanted to walk her home? How nice of him. Hinata nodded and Naruto punched his fist in the air. Haha, yada, don't worry, I'll make sure you get home alright. I have to go though. If Neji finds out I was in here, he'd kill me. The doors slid open and closed again, signifying that she was alone once more. Still in a pretty dazed state, she laid her head back down on her pillow and closed her eyes. Her head still kind of hurt, and she was in no position to stand up and leave the infirmary, so Hinata decided to take a nap until school was finally over. Neji was going to make such a fuss over her. She fell asleep for about an hour or so before her eyes shot open suddenly and she made an unpleasant face. It had finally dawned on her. She had told Naruto that he could walk her home today. Neji was going to kill him. What was she going to do? Oh, she had forgotten completely. The student council had their meeting after school today. That meant that Neji would be so preoccupied with that Naruto could walk Hinata home without fear of the boys getting into another argument. This was perfect. Hinata. A surprised gasp escaped her mouth and she looked over to find Neji making his way to the infirmary bed. Ah, you surprised me. Oh, then I apologize. Are you feeling well? Neji asked. He sounded as stoic as usual, but his tone was lightly sprinkled with concern. Yes, I'm feeling a bit better. My head slightly hurts, but I'm okay. I just need some rest. Neji didn't look the least bit convinced, but Hinata hurriedly added, and no really, it's okay. Honest, that damned Uzumaki. I swear, if I catch him coming into contact with you, I'll kill him. Are you sure you don't want me to file a no-contact order against him? Hinata gasped. Positive. Sighing, she shifted in bed a little before looking up at the clock. Ah, your meeting is starting soon. Oh, I cancelled it. Shocked, Hinata asked, why, only to receive Neji's simple response, I need to take you home. You're hurt. She was going to protest that she was just fine, but the doors slid open, revealing a very cheerful Naruto. Oi, Hinata, I've come to take you home, What the hell? Currently, Neji had Naruto by the front of his white collar, choking him slowly. You have the nerve to show your face here after what you did? And then expect to take Hinata home. Naruto, who had his cheeks puffed out and was turning blue in the face, attempted to speak in a very strained and light voice. But Hinata said, it was okay. Neji whipped his head around violently to get a good look at his cousin, who was nervously squeezing her hands at the moment, worrying over Naruto's wavering health. You what? Neji scowled. A light blush hit Hinata's cheeks. Well, He was really sorry about what happened. And to make up for it, he wanted to walk me home, so naturally I agreed. Neji Nissan, please. A sigh escaped his parted lips. How could he say no to her when she had been so adamant about it? Fine, Naruto can walk you home, but ground rules are to be set in place right this second. That's nice, but I wasn't talking about that. I meant, please let go of Naruto-kun. Neji blinked and turned around to the barely conscious blonde in front of him. He's at his last moment. Hinata finished. Oh yeah, he had been choking Naruto. Finally letting his tight grip on Naruto's collar falter, Neji put a hand on his right shoulder and moved his arm backwards in a circular motion, as if he had been doing some intense workout. Naruto fell to the ground with a thud, desperately gasping for air. You better be listening, Uzumaki, because I'll only tell you once. Keep your hands to yourself. If I hear that you've even bumped elbows with Hinata, I'll kill you. Why yeah, Naruto muttered. Also, you are not allowed inside of our home for any reason. I don't care if you need to use the bathroom. Do not enter. Then, can we stop so I can go into the bushes if I can't hold it anymore? Ah. Just then, Neji was grinding his foot into Naruto's back. Shameless. Hinata could only put her hands together and silently pray that her cousin wouldn't kill the boy she liked before she'd finally get the chance to spend time with him. Your cousin is brutal, Naruto grumbled. The two of them were on their way to Hinata's home now, finally alone. Not only did the scolding from Neji take up time, but Naruto stopped to talk to a lot of people on his way out of the school building, including Sakura. It was a bit awkward for Hinata, and she kind of felt like the third wheel when he held her hands or hugged her. She actually wanted to go home by herself at that point, having been incredibly embarrassed, and also a little sad. Shaking it off, Hinata decided to keep the conversation going. Neji Nissan is just a bit overprotective. But he means well. A bit, she says. Naruto mumbled. Hinata could only hang her head low. I'm sorry. Naruto took a look at her before putting his arms behind his head and sighed. Is this also why you didn't want to become friends with anyone? To protect them from the wrath of Neji? He chuckled. No, Neji Nissan only acts so brutally towards you, Naruto-kun. That's not it. Neji Nissan doesn't keep me from having friends. Naruto gave a look of disbelief. Could have fooled me. Even if Neji didn't outright tell Hinata that she couldn't have friends, he thought that he did have a role in scaring people off. Who would want to mess with the student council president and the president of the martial arts club? So, if it's not him, then why don't you have a lot? I mean, it must get pretty boring only talking to Kiba. Naruto laughed. He isn't the only friend I have. There's Ino-chan as well. And there's you too. Naruto's blue eyes widened. Me? Why you said we were when? At the M Mall, you said we were. A large blush made its way across her face. He'd forgotten, hadn't he? How could she have been so dumb? Of course he would forget. He forgot about her for an entire week. And the only reason they were on this walk was because he felt bad for hurting her. I know I did, but when you said yes, I thought you were just lying to get away from me. You were playing with your phone when you did. And all of a sudden, Ino and Sai had come back to us, as if on cue. She was? She hadn't known she was hurting his feelings too. How terrible of her. I'm sorry. She sighed, but Naruto waved it off and laughed. The pair continued on their walk, as Naruto talked loudly and Hinata nodded and giggled from time to time. Once they were close enough to her home, Hinata stopped him, reminding him that Neji didn't even want him on the estate. Naruto nodded and started his lonely walk back home, but not before giving Hinata a quick hug goodbye. That day, Naruto-kun asked me to have lunch with him, and I agreed. Though, Neji Nissan heard that he had hugged me from a neighbor who was watching and in a fit of rage, hurled a desk at his head. The two of us ended up having lunch in the infirmary together, and it was fun. He even asked me to feed him. Oi, Nurse Hinata, feed me, will ya? I'm not feeling too hot tilde, was what he said, with a wink. And then Neji Nissan, originally outside the infirmary to apologize, screamed at the top of his lungs. How hectic, right? So, what's up with you, Naruto and Neji? Ino asked nonchalantly, stuffing a spring roll from her lunchbox in her mouth. Today, Ino bought Shikamaru to have lunch with them. Hinata was feeling slightly nervous, since he was always bored with everyone and everything. Hinata didn't want him to feel obligated to sit with them, especially if they were boring him. Though, her question seemed to spike his interest as he turned to look at Hinata. Funny, his facial expression hadn't changed whatsoever. Yeah, they're way too noisy in the mornings now. How troublesome. Shikamaru spoke in his normal uninterested tone. There isn't anything going on really. Hinata murmured, shifting her gaze away from Ino and Shikamaru. Really? Neji hurling a desk at Naruto when he's around you is hardly unimportant. So, come on, what's up? Oh, well, Naruto-kun said that he wanted us to be friends while we were at the mall, and I agreed. But, he's a really… how do I put it? Naruto-kun is the type of friend that invades personal space? Ino asked. Knows no boundaries? Shikamaru questioned. Hinata could only nod. And naturally, Neji-Nisan doesn't like that and is very protective, so. That's it? How boring. Ino frowned. What were you expecting? Ino closed her eyes for a moment, trying to imagine the scene. Something like, this isn't fair, Neji. Why won't you acknowledge my love for Hinata? Neji would look over his shoulder and give an ice-cold stare. Because a classless fool such as yourself doesn't deserve the love of the heiress of the Hyuga family. Naruto would clench his fists in rage. Then let me prove it. Prove to you I'm worthy of her love. HMPH, so be it. If you can beat me in hand-to-hand combat, I'll deem you worthy. The two would then engage in hand-to-hand combat, which would always end in Neji overpowering Naruto, flinging him to the ground. Give up. You'll never be worthy. I can't do that, Neji. No matter how many times you knock me down, I'll always fight for Hinata, because I love her. Or something like that. Ino giggled. Hinata blushed a bright red, dismissing the idea with the fast waving of her hand, and Shikamaru only sighed. How dumb. Where did you get that cliché idea from anyway? Oh, it was on television the other night. After that, the hero in the show. I didn't ask you about the television show. Ah, you're such a pain sometimes. Ino huffed momentarily before regaining her composure. She rested her elbows on the desk and placed her chin atop her hands, smiling. Don't act like that, Shikamaru-kun tilde. I know you'd readily do that for Temari-senpai. She giggled. Hinata blinked. Temari-senpai? Shikamaru sighed, as he normally did. Don't listen to her, Hinata. She's obviously not thinking clearly. Temari-senpai is president of the women's volleyball team. She's brutal in her games, ho-ho. Wouldn't want to mess with her. And yet, Shikamaru insists. Ino laughed. I don't insist on doing anything. She's troublesome too. Hinata played with her fingers for a moment before lifting her gaze to meet Shikamaru. You Nara-san. Do you really like Temari-senpai? Now you've got Hinata asking troublesome questions. Hinata mumbled a small apology. She also hastily mentioned that if he was feeling bored, he could leave at any time. Yeah, Shikamaru. You can either be interested in what we have to say or get out. Ino, that's not what I meant. And who is the one who invited me here in the first place? Shikamaru argued, slightly annoyed. It's fine, Hinata. If I didn't want to be here, I'd have left a long time ago. It was good to be reassured, but Hinata had hoped he wasn't lying to her. But his voice was the most sincere she had ever heard it, so he must have been telling the truth. Besides, just one lunch period with him and Hinata could tell already that Shikamaru's eyes widened slightly when he was being truthful or generally interested in something. She remembered them widening when Temari's name was brought up. How sweet. The rest of the school day went by a little too slowly for Hinata's liking, but when the final school bell rang, Hinata smiled. And that's all for today. Class is dismissed. While packing her school bag, Hinata found one of Neji's notebooks. Oh right, she had to borrow his notes when she missed classes due to being in the infirmary. But he was nowhere to be found. It was possible that he had gone to the student council meeting already. Hinata thought that stopping there wouldn't be such a bad idea. While walking the halls, Hinata could hear Naruto's voice, and it sounded very whiny, almost like a child. When she turned the corner, Naruto was latched onto Sakura's arm and Hinata lightly blushed before turning her head away. Come on, share with me. Please? Naruto pleaded. Sakura let out an exasperated sigh. Did you not hear me? I said no, you should have brought your own. But it's raining really hard. I'll catch a cold. Whose fault is that? Rain? That's right. The weather forecast for this morning said that it would rain all afternoon. She brought her umbrella with her, but when she turned her head to take a look at the window, it looked worse than light showers. Oh dear, excuse me, Hinata called out before sliding open the door to the student council room. They weren't having their meeting yet, so that was good. Looking for Hyuga-san? One of the members asked. Hinata nodded. I figured. He'll be back soon. You can wait here though. Thank you very much, Hinata bowed. She didn't have to wait long for Neji to show up. Neji-Nisan. Here are your notes from the other day. Thanks for letting me borrow them. No problem, Neji nodded, accepting his notebook. But why are you returning them to me now? You could have given them to me at home. Why yeah, but if you have your notes and they get wet outside, it'd be better than me having your notes and getting them wet, right? Hinata smiled. Neji gave her a bored look before tapping her forehead lightly with his fist. That's not a good reason for wanting to return someone's notes. Sorry. Hinata smiled sheepishly. Haha, how cute is she? Yeah, she is, isn't she? Ignoring the comments from some of the members in student council, Neji asked Hinata if she'd be okay walking home by herself, to which she assured him that he would. Sometimes Neji treated her like such a child, it was ridiculous. Finally making her way to her shoe locker, Hinata grabbed her umbrella and quickly changed out of her indoor shoes. Oh, it looks like Naruto got Sakura to share her umbrella after all. The two were under Sakura's pink umbrella and looked to be having a very lively conversation. Boy, did they look like a couple. Hinata gave a long sigh before heading out herself. Hey, Hinata, she turned around. Oh, Nara-san, how come you're still around? He questioned, and Hinata explained that she was handing over some notes to Neji. Ah, for when you missed class the other day, huh? She nodded slowly. That guy is nothing but trouble. Oh, since we're here, you want to walk home together? Ah, sure. The walk was surely quiet. The pitter-patter of rain and the occasional sound of a car driving on the wet roads were the only sounds that were prominent. Though, the silence wasn't awkward or anything, surprisingly. Maybe it was because Shikamaru was so mellow that he didn't need to really hold a conversation. So, what had you looking all sad earlier? Shikamaru asked, breaking the silence. Or maybe he did need to hold conversations. Who knew? Oh, it was nothing really. Liar. Did he just call her out on lying to him? I'm sorry? I'm very perceptive, if you hadn't noticed already. So, was Ino not too far off the mark today? Is it actually that blonde idiot? Hinata had no idea what to say. And here she thought she was so good at concealing her feelings around everyone. Was she really that obvious? Her mouth was slightly open for a moment in time before she closed it and nodded. There was really no use hiding it from Shikamaru, was there? Besides, she was sure he wouldn't go and gossip about it with everyone else. He didn't seem like that kind of person. What a pain. Don't stress yourself over it though. Huh? This year, you seem to be more outgoing and lively. It's a good change of pace, I suppose. Try not to let Naruto screw it up, Shikamaru said, in his usual bored tone. I could say the same for you and Tamari-senpai. Your eyes widened slightly when her name is brought up. And then in that instant, they widened even more. Nara-san was actually really surprised that I could read him like that. And I told him about being confident in my abilities to read how others feel. It was the first time I had ever mentioned that to anyone, and it honestly felt good to finally talk about it. Nara-san didn't have to verbally confirm his feelings for Tamari-senpai, I had already known. I wonder if she feels the same way. I know that Nara-san isn't on any sports teams. Even when we have gym, he never participates unless he really has to. Notice how I said has to and not wants to. He never wants to. So how did they meet? Does he admire from afar? Or maybe they've spoken from time to time? I'm only observant in the classroom. When it's time to go home, I leave my observation skills in my locker with my shoes. I guess I should change that now that I'm starting to talk to people outside of school, huh? For instance, when Ino lies, her nose crinkles a tiny bit. Even when she's flirting, her nose will crinkle slightly, and I know she isn't serious about any of it. I think she's just boy-crazed. But enough about that. Nara-san's words threw me off completely that day. He told me not to let Naruto-kun mess with my happiness. Easier said than done, Nara-san. I will admit it to myself. It did hurt when I saw Naruto-kun and Haruno-san sharing an umbrella together. Before Naruto-kun asked to be friends, I always went the extra mile to avoid him, so I never saw much of the interactions between the two of them outside of the classroom. I didn't think that anything would change outside of our classroom, but I was way off. Now that I'm not avoiding him, I feel like I've set myself for so much more pain. Sometimes I kind of want to go back to my old ways and take off as soon as I see him approaching. It would all be a lot easier that way. But I was just being weak, and I did not want to come to terms with the truth, I suppose. This way is much better. I'm not as sad as I used to be, so that's a plus. Though, Nara-san did mention my liveliness and how I've become more outgoing. That means it's working, right? I'm changing for the better, right? I sure do hope so. Because if Nara-san could see it, then I'm succeeding. But then again, maybe not. He's naturally perceptive, so he probably caught on back on in April. Even so, I can't give up on improving myself. Summer break is just around the corner too. I'll have enough time to work on myself and become the absolute best that I can be. Though, summer break will also be spent doing homework too, huh? How troublesome. Ah, I sounded like Nara-san. Oh ho, your hair looks really nice in a ponytail. Ino giggled. It was hot today, and Hinata hated how her hair made the back of her neck sweat. So for today, it was up in a ponytail. Her hair was always very short up until her last year in middle school, because it was easier to manage. Hinata hated to admit it, but she thought that if she grew her hair as long as Sakura's was, Naruto might notice her too. Looking back on it, it was a silly thought. Hinata then realized that Naruto liked Sakura for Sakura and not for her hair. He liked her even when she cut it to shoulder length last year. Admitting defeat, Hinata wanted to cut her own hair back to its old length too, but then decided against it, as it would have looked like she would be copying Sakura's hairstyles. Ah, really? I get embarrassed because you can see more of my face. Hinata sighed, placing her hands on her cheeks. Ino smiled. But you have a very nice face shape. Not everyone can pull off the perfect ponytail. Hinata laughed lightly. Maybe it was true. She couldn't remember ever seeing Ino with her hair down. She wore side ponytails, pigtails even, and she still looked so nice. By the way, how do you get your hair that soft? Mine has been a bit brittle lately. Ino mumbled, running her fingers through part of her hair. Ah, Neji-Nissan always fixes my hair so that it's like this. Hinata had finally come to liking her long hair and wanted to take good care of it. Neji would often give her tips on how to keep it silky and shiny, just like his own. Sometimes, he'd cut any split ends that she had or help her condition it. Hanabi would often tease Neji, calling him, Neji-ne-chan. Hinata almost slipped up a few times too, since her sister would call him that more at home than in public. Neji? Huh, I shouldn't be surprised, with that mane of his. Hey Neji, Ino called out. Want to help me take care of my hair too? No. Do I look like some beautician to you? Neji frowned. Don't be so mean. After all, your hair is envied by many of the girls in this school. Tenten said slyly. She and Neji seemed to be good friends, and she was even a member of the martial arts club he was president of. She was currently standing in the doorway, her arms were folded and she had the biggest smirk on her face. This isn't even your classroom. Go back to your own homeroom. Neji scolded. Tenten laughed. Relax, I just wanted to know if we were holding training sessions over summer break for the club. Neji motioned for her to come in and they discussed their plans further. Ino looked over at Hinata with a smile and a glint in her eye. Summer break starts tomorrow, Hinata-chan. Got any plans? Hinata tapped her chin lightly and thought for a moment. Nothing really. Why do you ask? Well, I'm planning to have people over at my summer home for a few days. It'd be really nice if you could make it. A few people? Hinata knew that when talking to Ino, a few didn't mean just 2 or 3 people. Ino nodded, counting off on her fingers as she listed some names: Shikamaru, Kiba, Sakura, Sai and Naruto so far. That's quite a lot of people already. Hinata mumbled. You think so? I have enough room so it should be fine. Got enough room for what? Naruto asked, stepping into the classroom with Sakura. Are you talking about your other house? How rude, listening in on other people's conversations. Sakura said, her hands on her hips. That'll get you seriously hurt one of these days. Ino gave a little chuckle. Oh ho Tilda, how scandalous. You two walked to school together. Hinata could only shift a little in discomfort. She never really noticed how close they were. Oh, shut up Ino pig. Sakura grumbled, making her way over to her seat. For once, Naruto didn't follow Sakura but crouched at Hinata's desk, folding his arms on it. Hinata couldn't say she wasn't surprised. Naruto always trailed behind Sakura, almost like a pet to its master. Are you coming too, Hinata? Naruto's smile was warm, as it usually was when he spoke to her. Still, Hinata needed to weigh the pros and cons of going. For starters, a lot of her friends would be there, so she wouldn't have felt too uncomfortable. She couldn't decide if Naruto going was a good or bad thing. Being able to see him outside of school would be nice. Then again, seeing him flirt with Sakura outside of school wouldn't be so great. Oh, how foolish of her. She didn't even have permission. I'd like to, but I'd have to ask my father for permission first. Makes sense, Ino smiled. Text me your answer then and we'll go from there. The school bells rang out, signifying that school had officially started. Everyone moved to their assigned seats as their homeroom teacher strolled in, ready to take attendance. Hiyashi glanced up from his newspaper to look at his eldest daughter. She had her hands behind her back and a look of uncertainty was etched onto her face. She had asked him about spending a few days at Ino's summer home. She was successful at answering all of his important questions. Who else would be attending? Where was the summer home? How long would she be there? All important things that fathers should know about. Hiyashi returned his gaze back to his paper before saying, "You make it look like you will be doing things there that I wouldn't approve of." Hinata gasped. "No, of course not, father." Hinata could have sworn that her father gave a small chuckle for a fleeting moment, before waving it off as a joke. Her father wasn't very good at telling jokes, because they always sounded serious and would scare her sometimes. A strict Hiyashi was much less scary than a playful Hiyashi, Hinata had to say. "You can attend," he said finally. Hinata's smile was brighter than Hiyashi had ever seen before. "Really? Can I really go? As long as Neji agrees to accompany you." Her smile faltered slightly before she turned around and raced off, in search of her cousin. "Neji-Nisan, I have a favor to ask of you." "Where are you?" Hiyashi gave a small smile before returning to his paper. There was something about his daughter that had changed recently. He expected her to hang out with that Inuzuka child she was so close with, but it seemed that Hinata was beginning to become just a little more charismatic. This was a good thing. If Hinata were to ever take over any of his businesses when she was older, she would need to drop her shyness and uncertainty. Hiyashi was sure that if Hinata could become more confident in her abilities, she would make a fine businesswoman, and his businesses would thrive long after his time on Earth was over. "You expect me to actually go?" It sounded like his nephew wanted no part in this social gathering whatsoever. "Please? It would mean so much to me if you'd attend." Hinata cried. Hiyashi wasn't worried at all. Neji did his best to make sure Hinata was safe and unharmed, so he was sure he would attend as well. Naruto-kun is going to be there as well." Silence. "Go and tell Ino that I'll be accompanying you all." Now, who on earth was this Naruto person, and why did his nephew agree to going so quickly? This was something Hiyashi would have to inquire about after their trip. "So, Neji has to come too? That's fine. Besides, who wouldn't want to see him in only swim trunks, Tilda?" Ino. Hinata scolded lightly. The two were having a conversation on the phone. "I'm just kidding," Ino laughed. "But I'm happy that you could come. It'll be fun." Hinata smiled. Then it was silent. The dark-haired teen was about to speak up but Ino beat her to it. "You know, I feel like I really missed out." Her tone was slightly somber, which surprised Hinata a great deal. Ino was always cheerful, and was just happy 2 seconds ago. "So what happened exactly? Missed out on what?" "You're a really nice person, Hinata-chan. I wished I would have taken the time to have gotten to know you a long time ago. We would have been such great friends a long time ago, the dynamic duo." Hinata couldn't help but laugh. "The dynamic duo?" she repeated. Ino feigned annoyance, and it sounded as if she were puffing out her cheeks. "Yes, don't make fun of me. That hurts the most." I'm sorry, Hinata giggled. Ino's words really did touch my heart. Did she honestly think we would have been such good friends? In all honesty, I was very intimidated by her. Ino was always self-confident and a really popular girl growing up. She still is even now. I would have been too afraid to say hello when I was younger. However, I am very happy that Ino thinks we truly are friends, and not because she's taken pity on me or anything. When I first thought about her words, I couldn't believe it. I wasn't sure what made me so interesting that she wished she could have known me sooner. But terrible thoughts like that are what kept me so sad all this time. I am an interesting person. I may not be able to see it, but other people can. And it's very flattering that Ino of all people thinks so. Well, maybe not all people, but she's up there with Naruto-kun. I'm super nervous about him being there. I'd really like to spend time with him, but the thought of being around him while going out to the beach or something makes me feel so shy. But I should be fine. The others will be there too, so it won't be so bad. And his attention won't be solely on me either. Is that actually a good thing, now that I think about it? I don't even know anymore. Some days, I'd really love for him to pay attention to me. On other days, I don't know if I could handle it, so I'd rather just stick to myself. I'd be too embarrassed. I'm so strange, huh? Trying to avoid someone that I like. Though, I'll deal with it when it's actually time to see him. Besides, I doubt Neji-Nissan would let him anywhere near me without starting some sort of fight. Oh yeah, Neji-Nissan promised that we would go shopping before the trip. The only swim trunks he has are the ones he got from school, and to take those on a trip with friends would be strange. I also thought about buying pretty summer dresses too, and maybe a pair of heels. Ino would be so proud to see me in them. She'd probably say something like, "That's it, Hinata-chan. Embrace your femininity. The only dresses that I have are for parties when father hosts them, or if we go to important ceremonies. It'd be so embarrassing to wear such flashy clothes at a casual get-together, so I need to buy new ones." I tried explaining it to father, but he didn't understand. "Why does it bother you so much? You'll be the most elegant young lady there," is what he said. He doesn't understand that there is a time and a place for everything. I think that's why he insists on wearing his suits to our sports events and culture festivals. It's kind of embarrassing, to be truthful. I don't think it can be helped though. Oh well, this train station is way too crowded for my liking. And we haven't even found Ino yet. Neji sighed. But we just got here. No need to get impatient, I'll call her. Hinata smiled. It was around 9 in the morning, and Ino had told everyone to meet up at the station by 9:15 so they could all catch the train together. Hinata and Neji walked around while waiting for Ino to pick up her phone until a voice called out to her. "Oi, Hinata, you made I." Naruto cried out, rushing towards the dark-haired teen to hug her, but Neji's fist colliding right in the middle of Naruto's face stopped that from happening. "Oh, I see Neji decided to show up too." He mumbled, "If I didn't, who knows what slimy things you'd be up to." Neji said simply, narrowing his eyes. "Oi, Hinata, you made it." Kiba grinned, putting his arm around her shoulders. Shaking off the horror of Naruto being hit square in the face, Hinata nodded, giving him a reassuring smile. "What the hell? You do absolutely nothing when Kiba does it." Naruto scowled, pulling his face from Neji's fist and pointing a finger at a snickering Kiba. Now, we don't want to miss our train." Neji spoke. "Let's move." Hinata and Kiba followed pursuit to meet up with the rest of the group not too far away from where Naruto greeted them. That guy really gets on my nerves sometimes. Grabbing his luggage, Naruto trudged behind them. Man, this was going to be a long week, huh? Ino's summer home was spacious and beautifully decorated. It looked like a very westernized home, unlike Hinata's. The group was currently standing in the living room, which was also the kitchen area too, since there was no wall dividing the area where the stove, fridge and countertops were placed. The wooden floor seemed newly polished. It even had a nice lemony scent to it. "I only have 3 rooms, so the 5 of you are going to have to decide room arrangements amongst yourselves," Ino said. She motioned for Hinata and Sakura to follow her upstairs to the room they would be sharing. "Huh, then me and Sakura-chan can share a room together, right? Just the 2 of us?" Naruto grinned and Sakura wasted no time punching him right on top of the head. "You wish. Sakura doesn't miss a beat, does she? Anyway, I'm not sharing a room with that troublesome idiot. I'd lose sleep." Shikamaru yawned, and Neji nodded in agreement. "Piss off, like I wanted to share a room with either of you too. If you guys are done, I'd like to go to the beach sometime today. Stop bickering and get change," Ino cried, slamming the door to the room all the way on the far right. Were they really going to the beach so soon? It made sense. Ino was practically gushing about a new bathing suit she purchased a few days before the trip. She had told Hinata that it was and fit her in all the right places. She even offered to go back to the mall and buy Hinata a matching swimsuit, to which Hinata immediately declined. Leaving the boys to argue amongst themselves, Hinata made it to the room she would be sharing with Sakura and Ino. Wearing her swimsuit around a bunch of boys would be so embarrassing. Maybe she'd take a light hoodie with her as a cover-up, just in case. Boing tilde. Hinata's eyes squinted, and her mouth was just slightly ajar. For once, her posture was slumped, but she couldn't tell if her body was doing this out of shock or disbelief. She hadn't expected Ino to be wearing a one-piece bathing suit, that was for sure. It seemed that the rest of the group, aside from Sai, felt the same way. "Oh ho tilde, isn't it perfect? It's everything I said it would be, isn't it?" Ino laughed, striking a pose. Boing tilde. They bounced again. Ino certainly knew how to make an impact. She was the first to head to the beach, so no one had really caught a glimpse of her outfit. Then when the rest of the group finally made their way down to the rather secluded beach not far from Ino's home, She practically tore off her cover-up to reveal a purple swimsuit, with ribbon crisscrossed all down the middle of it. Hinata could have sworn that ribbon was the only thing keeping her swimsuit together, because there was no fabric in the middle of her swimsuit, from the neck past her belly button. Ino was right. It did fit her in all the right places. Ino, you bimbo. What's the big idea, showing off to everyone? Sakura cried, raising her fist. She had gone a much simpler route, wearing a red bikini and bottoms to match. Ho ho, are you mad, billboard brow? You've got ways to go before you can compete with me, missy. Ino teased before running off in the opposite direction. You got some nerve. Get back here. It wasn't a surprise that Sakura took after her, right into the water. Rolling his eyes, Shikamaru sighed. Troublesome girls. I'm going to go lay down. Wait, Shikamaru. What is it now, Naruto? There was a glint in Naruto's eye as he tossed a ball in Shikamaru's direction. The prodigy caught it with ease before throwing Naruto a skeptical look. We're gonna play some volleyball. No thanks. The flat tone in Shikamaru's voice slightly irked Naruto, but Neji intervened. What are you saying, Nara? Too scared to challenge me? At this statement, Shikamaru seemed to gain interest. TCH, whatever. I guess I'll have time to play with you kids. Hinata had never seen Shikamaru so willing to play anything, ever. He looked so into it too. Talk about a huge turnaround. She couldn't keep her eyes off of Shikamaru's team, Naruto specifically. He just looked so cool spiking the ball and diving for the ball. He even had his shirt off too. Oh, how impure of her, to be ogling him like that. Right as she turned away from the match she was met face to face with Sai. Her heartbeat quickened, and she felt like she couldn't even move. It was as if she was paralyzed. It also didn't help that Sai was staring right into her soul with those dark eyes of his. How scary. Did you see something you liked? Huh? Sai blinked before moving his face away from her, giving her a reassuring smile. It was a joke. Was it funny? Not really. Hinata mumbled. Oh, too bad. I'll work harder next time. Sai was a strange one. He was a bit awkward at times and kind of mean to Naruto and Sakura sometimes, but Hinata always tried look at the good in people. She had convinced herself that Sai was trying his hardest to change his attitude and how he interacted with people, just like she was. They were both the same, in a sense. She noticed his pencil moving up and down in his sketchbook. Oh yeah, Sai was really artistic. He often spent his time in class drawing in his notebook rather than taking notes. Sai would constantly ask Sakura if he could copy them, which annoyed her greatly. What are you drawing, Sai-san? Hinata asked. It came out very light and a bit shakier than she would have hoped, but Sai didn't seem to care much. The scene before us, Sai paused his sketch. You should play too. It'll be better to draw everyone in this picture. Oh, I'd feel bad leaving you by yourself though. Besides, you won't be in the picture either. Sure I will. Sai began to point to a spot on the page, right here. He was pointing at what looked like was going to be the sky. Why? It would be funny, don't you think? No, it wouldn't have been. But Hinata didn't have the heart to tell him that his second joke wasn't funny, so she bit her lip. You should go have fun, I'll be fine here. Hinata complied reluctantly before shedding her hoodie and timidly making her way to where Ino and Sakura were playing in the ocean. Sai watched her for a moment before returning to his drawing. Huge, he muttered to himself. Oi Sai, that drawing looks really good. Did you draw it earlier? Naruto grinned. Kiba and Sai were in their room after a long day of hanging out. Yes, while you all were playing around. Yeah, it's cool, but why'd you exaggerate Hinata's features for? Sai looked up at Naruto, a smile plastered onto his face. Kiba also looked over from his video game to see what exactly Naruto was talking about. No, that looks about right, he said nonchalantly, returning back to his game. For once, Naruto was speechless. When we got back to the house to have dinner, Sai-san sat next to me and muttered the word, dogenshi. I asked if he was going to make one since his art skills are wonderful and he nodded. He told me that the story would have a cute heroine who was kind, honest and had special powers that kept her fictional city safe from harm. It didn't sound like something he'd be all that interested in, not at all. When I was ready to ask him about it, he said, fan service is a wonderful thing, isn't it? Then Neji asked Sai-san what exactly was he mumbling about, but said waved it off and said that it was nothing. Sai-san is a strange person, but I believe he's also a good person, so it's okay to be a bit weird. Today was really fun though. I got to play in the water for a little bit with Ino and Haruno-san, and I managed to make a nice sandcastle with Kiba-kun, and I even sunbathed with Shikamaru-kun. Yes, we've gotten to the point where we both are on first name basis. He said I'm way too formal, and I should just relax. He's right though, but that's because I had to be. If I start slipping up on formalities, I might do it while father's business friends are around, and that would be quite embarrassing. I sighed. Ino and Haruno-san went to sleep a little while ago. They used up so much energy today, so the both of them went to sleep as soon as their heads hit their pillows. But I couldn't sleep. That was also frustrating me a bit. Maybe I could go for a walk or something. I'd ask Neji-Nissan to walk with me so that I'm not alone with my thoughts, but he's probably sleeping and I don't want to disturb him. Shikamaru-kun and I had a nice walk together during the first term of the school year, but he's definitely sleeping, no doubt about it. And I don't want to be troublesome, either. Picking myself up from bed, I silently made my way out of the bedroom and downstairs. I didn't want to ask Kiba-kun either. I knew he was awake because I could hear his laughter every now and again, but he, Naruto and Sai were sharing a room. I didn't want to knock on the door and risk Naruto opening it. I'd make a fool out of myself for sure. Before I knew it, I was already outside. Where was I going? Back to the beach maybe? Yes, that sounded like a nice option. But I forgot my sweater back in the room and I was only in my pajamas. That meant that I wouldn't be able to go in the water without getting them all wet. I stopped in my tracks to look behind me, contemplating if I should go back in or not, but I decided against it and kept on walking. Is that Hinata? Naruto mumbled to himself. He had just come out of the bathroom when he saw her heading towards the door leading outside. It was kind of late. Why was she still up? And heading out in her pajamas no less? Then a brilliant idea hit him. He'd scare her. Not too much, but he wanted to catch her off guard. Besides, she shouldn't have been out by herself this late anyway. Naruto did his best not to make any noises, but he did flinch and ducked for cover when Hinata turned around. Did she hear him? No way. He hadn't made any sounds since he was on her trail. She turned back around and continued her walk while Naruto gave it a few moments before going after her again. They were a good distance away from Ino's summer home now, and Naruto thought this was the perfect time to startle her. He quickened his pace, taking great strides before he finally reached her. Placing his hands on her almost bare shoulders and gave a low cackle. A lady like you shouldn't be out alone, Naruto whispered menacingly. A shiver went up her spine as she let out a high-pitched scream of terror. She should have woken up Neji, or faced her stupid fears and asked Kiba to go with her. Instead, she was alone and no one would be able to help her. Tears began to well up in her eyes as she tore herself from this person's surprisingly loose grip on her. Naruto gave a hearty laugh. Man, I got you good, Hinata? Oh no, she was crying. Panicking, Naruto flailed his arms about. I'm sorry, Hinata. I just wanted to surprise you. I didn't mean to make you cry. On one hand, she was relieved to know that it wasn't some creep ready to attack her. On the other hand, she was so sad that Naruto wanted to scare her and embarrassed that she was crying about it. Her cheeks grew warm and she dried her tears with her hands. Hinata shook her head in an attempt to let him know that she was fine. Then Naruto wrapped his arms around her, bringing her into a warm embrace. He even gave her a light squeeze too. She had to fight off the urge to hug him back. I'm really sorry, Hinata. Are you okay? Was she okay? She didn't even know. He was hugging her all of a sudden, and she was sure the pink hue on her cheeks turned 3 shades darker. She finally gave a feeble, yes, and Naruto let go. What are you doing out here anyway? It's kinda dangerous being by yourself out here. Oh, I couldn't go to sleep, so I decided to take a walk. Hinata's gaze was on the floor, and that kind of bothered Naruto. He gently took hold of the side of her face and tilted it to where they both could see each other. Oi, look at me when you're talking to me. His tone wasn't harsh at all, but Hinata still felt her heart beat wildly and her face grew hot. Still, she complied and looked right at him. Naruto was smiling, and it made her heart warm up instantly. Naruto took his hand off of her face and placed his arm around her shoulder. I'll walk with you then. It was surprisingly quiet for a while. Usually Naruto would talk about whatever he felt like, but he wasn't saying a word. It was a little off-putting, actually. We didn't get a lot of summer homework this year. That's really nice, isn't it? Summer homework? She finally got her chance alone with Naruto, and summer homework was the only thing she could come up with. What was wrong with her? At this rate, he'd be begging to go back. I forgot about that. Naruto grumbled. Hinata gasped. Already. Cause it's always so annoying to deal with and I never understand it. He whined. Hinata gave a small laugh. I could help you with it, if you'd like. Really? Haha, that'd be awesome actually. Thanks Hinata. Naruto grinned. I'm glad you're helping me out. You have everything in order already. No I don't. That sentence came out very firm, which surprised Naruto. It even surprised Hinata. I mean, there's more I can improve on, and I can work a little harder and, she added hurriedly, but Naruto cut her off. What's wrong? He sounded so concerned about her. What should she do? Lie? But then what would she say? He wouldn't take nothing for an answer, and that was the only lie floating around in her head. She'd have to be truthful with him, and reveal her feelings to him. Not those feelings, of course. That didn't sit too well with her. She sighed. I don't know where I'm heading in life. It was silent for a moment before she continued. I don't have any plans, and I don't have any special talents or anything of the sort. I'm kind of useless. Her tone sounded bitter and she was looking off to the side somewhere. They had stopped walking now, and Naruto's arm had been off of her shoulders for a while now. You're really amazing. What? Hinata looked up in confusion. Well, you do super well on exams and stuff, and from what I know, you're a pretty good cook and you're good at arts and crafts too. Hinata blinked. How do you know all of this stuff? She was more surprised than flattered, but that wasn't to say she wasn't flattered. Naruto was paying her a compliment, after all. She just couldn't understand how he knew all this stuff about her. She never shared any of the food she made from her lunchbox with him. Hinata also did all her crafts and things of that sort at home. Sometimes when you bring Kiba some of your home-cooked meals, he shares with me and it's always delicious. He also sent me the picture of a sweater you knitted for Akamaru the other day. It was really cute. Hinata blushed. Does Kiba purposely do things like this for Naruto to think that she was great? Or was he just bragging about how nice of a friend he has? Hinata couldn't tell at all. You're really creative, Hinata. I'm envious. She didn't say anything. What could she have said? He rendered her speechless. Naruto took hold of her hand, running along the path to the beach. She almost didn't have time to kick off her flip-flops as they ran right into the ocean. It was cold, very cold. But she liked it. She would kick water up in the air from time to time until Naruto grabbed her from behind, spinning her around and around. She let out a small squeak of surprise, but then she laughed as did he. Their laughter seemed to meld together the louder it got. Naruto had finally stopped spinning her, and they stood in the water face to face and hand in hand. It was the brightest that he had ever seen her smile. Her cheeks were a soft rose color and her eyes seemed to shine. Naruto wanted to capture that moment, but he didn't have a camera. Oh well, he'd just have to remember this face. Hinata, Naruto spoke up, you can always talk to me about things that bother you. Don't hesitate. Hinata nodded. It was the first time she was able to look him in the eye and not feel nervous or embarrassed. Naruto really cared about their friendship and it made her incredibly happy. And here she thought that Naruto would never even give her the time of day. She of all people should have known that when Naruto set out to do something, he was going to do it, no matter how hard it was or how long it took. She truly did like that about him. You've got goosebumps. Are you cold? Hinata glanced down at her arm. He was right. She guessed that it was a little chilly out and she didn't even have her sweater. How foolish of her. She gave Naruto a small nod and he linked arms her. Let's go back then. You'll be warmer there. Sides, it's pretty late now. If anyone finds out that you and me are both out of our rooms, Neji'll kill me. Hinata gave a small laugh. Naruto shot her a smile of his own. Naruto never actually got to see Hinata smile much. At school, she always sat in a little corner by herself looking real gloomy, sometimes stoic even. He always just assumed that it was hereditary. But now she looked almost like a different person. Hopefully, she'd stay that way. You know, you should do that more often. Hinata was confused. Do what more often? Smile. You look really nice when you do. I wanted to scream right then and there. He said I looked nice. He actually said I looked nice. Oh, I can't believe it. I even had to discreetly pinch myself so I could tell if I was dreaming or not. That night was so amazing, and I get giddy just thinking about it over and over again. When we got back to the house, no one noticed we were gone, and that was a good thing. We said our good nights and parted ways. I wasn't even sad the next morning either, when Naruto-kun flirted with Haruno-san during breakfast. I calmly sipped the tea from a really cute mug I found in one of the cabinets in the kitchen. I think it's because I didn't set myself up to think that Naruto-kun did any of that stuff from a romantic standpoint. It was a step forward in our friendship, and just because he flirts with Haruno-san doesn't mean that we aren't friends anymore. Reminding myself this was actually quite liberating. I will say that I didn't watch them flirt, because I would have been embarrassed. Of course I don't feel happiness from it, not at all, but I'm not excusing myself and sulking about it in a corner later. I also think Shikamaru-kun has been more protective of me. There's no doubt in my mind that he picked up on how I felt on the situation at hand. I saw his eyes lazily look at Naruto-kun and Haruno-san and then quickly dart towards me. His eyes were slightly wider too. Then after breakfast, Shikamaru-kun and I sat on the couch together. I was watching television and he was slowly dozing off. Naruto-kun was making his way towards me to wish me good morning, but Shikamaru-kun woke up suddenly and began talking to me about whatever popped into his head. Naruto-kun was annoyed, of course, telling him that he was just doing this on purpose. What was surprising was that Shikamaru-kun didn't even deny it. And then, oh my goodness. And then Shikamaru-kun says, "We need to talk about something important, go bother your girlfriend or something." At that point, I was feeling awkward. He sounded so serious. In all actuality, Shikamaru-kun and I did have a serious talk outside about Temari-senpai. But I'll save that story for another day. I'm sure he did it to chase off Naruto-kun, and was successful in doing so, because when he left, Shikamaru-kun looked at me with those eyes of his. Troublesome. He just jumps from one onto the next. "Don't let it get to you," is what he said. I assured him that I was okay, and that I wasn't sad or anything, and he nodded before asking me to chat on the balcony with him. Naruto-kun wasn't angry with me though, which was reassuring. We had a few conversations throughout the day. He didn't seem very upset at Shikamaru-kun either. It's nice that he's able to not hold grudges. Another wonderful quality. The weary samurai, still lost on the road, happened upon a shrine he could take refuge in for the night. Sai sat in front of the group, holding up a flashlight underneath his face and making the creepiest of faces. He was in the middle of an ominous scary tale which seemed to be scaring 6 out of 7 of them. Neji listened with his arms crossed and eyes closed, as stoic as ever, while Hinata sat next to him. She was clutching the hem of her dress, cringing as Sai kept speaking. Next to her was Ino, who was chewing her bottom lip in suspense. Shikamaru sat in between her and Sakura. His eyes were actually wide open, enthralled by the story. Sakura had the tightest grip she could possibly give on Naruto's arm, who was hardly paying attention to the story. His eyes were on her the entire time, and a light blush crept onto his cheeks. Kiba's hands were on each of his own legs, clenching them as Sai went on with his story. Just then, Sai continued, he was confronted by a naked pervert. This person was said to have been a serial rapist, and the samurai wanted to stop him from claiming any more victims. Just as the samurai was ready to draw his weapon, the offender bent over to show him. The group was on edge, ready to hear what came next. The eyeball in his asshole. Well, that was anticlimactic. It was funny, wasn't it? Sai smiled. Silence. Then there was giggling. It grew and grew until it became full-on laughter. Hinata was laughing. Ah, someone found it funny. Sai seemed quite happy about it. Ino sighed. You really had us scared there too. Us? Shikamaru questioned. Yes, us. Don't think I didn't see you shifting uncomfortably. Hee tilde, you were really scared back there, weren't you, Sakura-chan? Naruto teased but was quickly punched in the arm. Shut up you. Then, Sakura pointed a finger at Sai. And you? What's the big idea telling stupid stories that aren't scary? Huh, answer me. Hinata, it really wasn't that funny. Neji mumbled, but Hinata couldn't stop herself from laughing. Asshole eyeball. Kiba called out, causing the indigo-haired teen's laugh to become louder. Boy Hinata, I guess you could say he had a pretty shitty outlook on life. Hinata was red in the face, and could hardly breathe. Snort tilde. Peefed. Hinata, did you just snort? Ino giggled before falling into her own fit of laughter, along with Kiba. Even Neji gave a good chuckle. Stop it. Ha ha ha. Why you? Ha ha ha. You're killing me. Hinata cried in between breaths. Tears were streaming down her face and she was lying in Ino's lap, as Ino was slouched over her, also laughing. Sai, now that Sakura had gotten off of his case and was paying attention to Hinata and Ino, had taken out his camera. Now, everybody smile. No one was even paying attention to the fact that Sai had taken a picture of them. Sai was unbothered by this. Pictures taken off guard were always the best, in his opinion. Everyone was being true to themselves, and that's what was so great about it. He even caught Shikamaru giving a little grin as well. This perfectly captured the essence of summer nights. Good friends and laughter. Later on that night, Shikamaru and Ino returned from a nearby convenience store with fireworks and cakes. Ino mentioned that fireworks were very romantic during summer nights, and anything could happen. Hinata could have sworn she snuck a glance in Sai's direction when she said that too. Hinata looked at Shikamaru, giving him the, "Did you see that? Look." Shikamaru nodded, shoving his hands in his pockets. Hinata didn't know that Ino had a thing for Sai. They seemed on such different spectrums. She was popular, cheerful and fashionable. Sai was awkward, quiet and kind of strange. It was nice to know that Ino liked something about him, despite being so different. Maybe opposites attract? What a cliché thought. Hinata would have to catch up with Ino on that later. Hopefully, that would mean that she and Naruto were a good match since they were so different. Neji finally got the fireworks to start, and they were absolutely breathtaking. Explosions of blues, greens and reds danced in the beautiful night sky. Hinata watched in complete awe. She looked away for a moment, to see if everyone else was having as much of a good time as she was. Neji seemed to be proud of his handiwork, and Kiba was getting ready to set off more. Sai and Ino were taking pictures together. Nice idea. Hinata wanted to take some pictures too. Her eyes looked for Naruto, and they found him standing right next to Sakura. They looked up at the sky in wonder, and Hinata could see the colors of the fireworks reflecting on their faces. She was about to look at the sky herself when something else caught her eye. They were hand-holding, but it wasn't just the hand-holding, it was everything that happened before and after that made her heart ache for a little while. Sakura grabbed Naruto's hand. It wasn't the other way around for once. She actually wanted to hold his hand. And then he blushed. He looked at her and she looked at him. Then they stared at each other for what felt like such a long time to Hinata. It was then that Hinata felt a hand on her shoulder. When she turned around she was met with Shikamaru's outstretched arm offering her a piece of cake. They said nothing, but she knew that he saw what she did. She also knew that he saw her watching it, and must have known how much it hurt. She eventually accepted the cake, taking a small bite out of it and returning her gaze back at the sky. Shikamaru stood by her side, arms crossed. It was rather comforting actually. The fireworks went on for about a few more minutes, then it ended. The sky returned to its original dark color. But Hinata continued to stare at it. She was feeling sort of hollow. "You gonna be alright?" he finally asked. Hinata shrugged. She would have liked to have been okay but she wasn't. Maybe because this time was different. Because Sakura and Naruto shared this really nice moment. And yes, she and Naruto shared a moment too the other day, but that wasn't as intense as theirs was. Hinata looked right at them, and even squinted her eyes too. She didn't need to though. You'd have to be absolutely stupid to not see the fireworks going off at that moment, and no, she wasn't talking about the ones in the sky. She wasn't happy because at that moment, Naruto seemed to be even more unattainable. But, Shikamaru definitely did warn her about this. Not to let things like this mess with her happiness. Hinata decided that instead of retreating back to the room to sulk about it, she'd brush it off and keep something else on her mind. But what? What could she possibly do? It was too bad Akamaru was all grown up now and Kiba couldn't easily take him on train rides. Hinata could have cuddled with Akamaru for a little while and that would have made her feel better. Animals made everyone feel better. "Oi, buttocks eye," Kiba called out. Her mouth contorted into a smile and she was lightly snickering. Was that going to be her nickname for the rest of her life? It didn't sound too appealing, but it would have been really funny. "Let's go back to the house. I want something to drink real bad." Why am I buttocks eye?" Hinata asked. "It's a cool nickname for you, don't ya think?" There was nothing cool about being called that at all. "Yo Kiba, let's race back up then." Naruto grinned. He and Sakura weren't in their own little world anymore. But, running back was a terrible idea. They could hurt themselves very badly. Before Hinata could even voice that concern, The two raced right back up to Ino's summer home while the rest of the group cleaned up and took their time walking back. The path was rough and bumpy, so you needed to take caution when walking. When they got back, Naruto and Kiba were both a mess. Kiba had cuts all over his face while Naruto scraped his knee kind of badly. Sheesh, Kiba-kun, that wasn't a great idea and you know it. Hinata mumbled, cleaning the last of the cuts on his face and putting a band-aid over it. Sorry mom, Kiba rolled his eyes. Oi Hinata, can you clean my cut too? He gave quite the genuine smile. She wanted to tell him to ask Sakura do it, but that would be awful. Then Neji cut in. I'll take care of it for you. I'm so pathetic. I was so upset, so sad. Haruno-san told him that running back was a stupid idea, and she went into the room, ignoring his request to clean his cut. And of course when she's not available, I'm the next best thing. That doesn't make me feel good at all. But the reason why I'm so pathetic is because if Neji-Nisan hadn't intervened, I would have said yes. I go on and on about not wanting to be second best, but if I keep making decisions like that, I'll wind up in last for sure. I was grateful to Neji-Nisan for cleaning Naruto-kun's wound for a second, but then when I heard him cry out in pain I knew he just wanted to mess with Naruto-kun and I immediately felt bad. Then I was upset at myself for feeling bad. An hour later, I was disappointed at myself for being upset at myself for feeling bad for Naruto-kun. It was horrible. The trip ended a while ago, and now I'm in my bedroom thinking about things that happened 2 weeks ago. I guess I'm still not over it. I need to get over it though. Naruto-kun sent me a text message yesterday, asking if I would help him with the homework we got over break. I was so into my little pity party I threw for myself that I had completely forgotten about what I told him during the trip to Ino's summer home. I was starting to regret that decision, but I couldn't go back on my word. So I told him that I would and asked where and when he wanted to do work on it. I'm patiently waiting for his response. Enough about me and my troubled love life. I spoke to Ino about Sai-san. At first she denied it, but there was a slight quiver in her voice. She was lying. I pushed a bit further and then she admitted to me that she thought he was cute. I know that she flirted with him during our trip from time to time, but I wasn't close enough that I could see if she was crinkling her nose or not. Sai-san is kind of difficult to read. I can hardly tell what he's thinking about most of the time. He sits there, not stoic or anything, but emotionless. There were those few times I saw him smile, but I'm not sure if they were genuine or not. I wonder if the feelings Ino has for him are mutual. Maybe when school starts back up again I'll be able to get a good read on how he's feeling. Oh, Naruto-kun sent me a text message. Apparently he wants to work on it next week at the library. I could definitely do that. Although, I'm pretty nervous about being alone with him again. I was just getting the hang of being around him too without feeling on edge about it. Hopefully everything goes smoothly at the library. I couldn't believe Naruto-kun confessed to me what he did at the library. Okay, I decided to go into the study session with a strict, no-nonsense attitude. We had work we needed to get done. There was idle chit-chat here and there but we didn't speak much. After an hour or so of silently working, Naruto-kun's pencil stops moving, and he looks up at me with those big blue eyes of his. Then he tells me lately he's been feeling guilty about hanging out with me. At that point, my heart sank. Guilty? Guilty? Why? If anything, I should have been feeling that way since he was so close with Haruno-san. But I didn't let any indication of disappointment show across my face. I refused to. As calmly as I could, I asked why he had felt that way. Then, Naruto-kun says, I kinda feel like Shikamaru likes you. I didn't know if I should have laughed right then and there about how silly the notion was or be absolutely floored that Naruto-kun could even suggest something like that. No doubt, a look of surprise must have rushed across my face because he asked if I didn't believe him. Now, of course I don't believe him. I know who Shikamaru-kun likes, and it's definitely not me. So I had to ask him why he would say something like that. Ever since our trip at Ino's place he kinda glares at me when I talk to you sometimes. And whenever your name comes up in conversation he tells me to stop talking about you. So I feel a little guilty when it's just me and you. Is what he said. How was I even supposed to respond to that? In a way, I was touched. Naruto-kun would go out of his way to make his friend feel comfortable about a romantic interest. But still, he was so far off the mark, and I wanted to cry. I assured him that it wasn't the case but Naruto got confused. Then he goes in for the kill. He says, I don't see why you don't think he wouldn't like you. There's lots to like about you, Hinata. With that warm, enchanting smile of his. And just like that I was down for the count. Oh, Naruto-kun, I don't think you know what your words do to me. I try not to take them to heart, but I know that you mean them with the utmost respect and honesty. And then I go back to being a lovesick puppy. I know he's not actively trying to court me or anything, so I shouldn't be expecting anything that comes from his mouth to be said out of love. However, I like to hope that it's the case, or that he may harbor some very minuscule feelings towards me and that's why he says what he says. I know he's just being nice though. I flopped onto my bed with a long sigh. This is so pointless. I wanted to become closer to Naruto-kun. Now that I am, I don't know if I can keep at it, because we'll probably never be as close as I would like to be. No, I should be proud of myself. I got closer, and that means that I'm making progress. I'm alright being Naruto-kun's friend. Besides, what would I even do if he were to be my boyfriend? I blushed at the thought. Sure, it's a nice title, but what does it even mean? I wouldn't even know what to do or how to act. Would we hold hands most of the time? Hug occasionally? Kiss? Ah, there I go, opening my big mouth. I don't know if I could handle that anyway. It seems a little too awkward, being that close to someone. Or maybe I'm saying that because I'm awkward and would mess up something as a simple kiss. Yes, that's probably true. Never mind all that embarrassing stuff though. I actually have more important things to think about for once. Like how father wants me to take over the family business after college. This is nothing new. I knew that this was expected of me for a long time now. However, what is new is that father sat me down to talk to me about it a few days ago. I thought it was just some unspoken one-sided agreement between us, and that I would just have to live with it despite not wanting to manage a large company. In the words of a very intelligent person, it's too troublesome. Also, I don't think I can handle it. But our talk was about enrolling me into Saturday classes and have a friend of his teach me all I need to know about business and the law. It sounds really stressful, and I'd never get to hang out with my, very recent, mind you, friends anymore. But when I voiced that concern, I got scolded. Apparently, friends aren't going to provide a stable lifestyle for me and unless they're good network contacts. How lovely. Father also said that I'm going to be an adult soon and that I should start thinking about my future. I am thinking about my future. I'm thinking really hard, but all I'm seeing is what I'm forced to be doing and not what I personally want to do. But maybe it's for the best. I don't exactly know what I want to do, so that's probably why I'm being forced. I wish he would hear me out sometimes. Maybe if he'd just listen once in a while, he would see that I wasn't all that comfortable with it, and he could help me find something that I'd enjoy doing. Sometimes I think he cares about that stupid business more than my feelings. Neji-Nissan always tries to reassure me that it's not true, but I can't seem to shake that feeling. I'm not looking forward to next year. Not in the slightest. What is this exactly? School had started up again, and Hinata was having lunch with Neji. Rock Lee joined them as well, and she had to say, the room was very lively with him in it. Though, Sai was currently outshining him, in his own strange way. He suddenly rushed over and handed her some sort of booklet. It was probably that doujinshi he was talking about over the summer. The cover featured a cute, long-haired girl who looked eerily similar to Hinata. She wore a long-sleeved top, the shoulders were puffed out and the bodice had a very low-cut sweetheart neckline, Hinata noted. Her skirt flared out and only went down to her lower thigh. The outfit was complete with knee-high boots, a single line running down the middle of each foot. The outfit was quite revealing. This is what I worked on over the summer. It's called Opalescent Wishes. Hope is restored throughout the world by one girl's heart. The title is really long. Hinata mumbled. Sai blinked. Should I change it then? Neji, who Hinata and Lee could sense was annoyed, had his eyes closed and arms crossed, his right hand gripping the short sleeve of his uniform shirt. Sai, he began, why does this drawing look very similar to Hinata? Oh, she was inspiration to me. When we were playing at the beach, she stuck out the most, quite literally. Sai was either really oblivious or really brave. He even said it with a smile on his face too. Hinata's face reddened, and she slowly buried it into her hands. Neji's face had gone a little red too, but that was due to anger. He stood up, ready to throttle Sai, but Lee held him back. Neji, control yourself. You can't attack people in school, Lee cried, in an attempt to calm his friend down. Unhand me. I'll wipe that stupid smile off of his face. He's worse than Uzumaki. Neji thrashed about as Sai stood there, the smile still present on his face. As if on cue, Naruto had walked in with Kiba and Sakura. Out of the corner of his eye, Lee saw the pink-haired beauty he'd been trying to woo for quite some time now. "Oh, Sakura-san," he smiled, skipping off to go talk to her, much to Naruto's displeasure. Neji was finally released and managed to chase Sai around the classroom until they were both in the halls. Hinata had not moved from her position at all. "What's wrong?" Kiba asked, resting an arm on her shoulder. He kneeled slightly so that they were almost on the same level. The dark-haired teen didn't speak. She only removed one of her hands from her face to pass Kiba the comic Sai had worked on over the summer. Kiba grimaced slightly before putting Sai's work of art back down on the table. "I am so sorry," he sighed, placing a hand out of sympathy on Hinata's shoulder. The school bells rang out, signifying that the day had finally come to an end. Hinata sat at her desk for a while, watching the rest of her classmates grab their things and walk out. Everything and everyone seemed to be moving at a relatively slow pace, as Hinata could hear idle chit-chat that seemed to last forever, and the slow packing of school bags. "Oi, Hinata," a familiar voice called out to her by the door. "Me and Shino are heading out. Wanna walk with us?" It's been a while since she was able to walk home with both Kiba and Shino. Sometimes when Kiba was busy with basketball club, she and Shino would walk home together and vice versa with Shino and that entomology club. "I wish I could, but I'm on cleaning duty today." Hinata sighed. "Seriously? Man, that sucks." Kiba grumbled. "I'll catch you later then, yeah?" Hinata nodded as Kiba headed out in the direction of Shino's classroom. A few moments later, she was all alone. She couldn't remember the last time she had been alone in a classroom since the beginning of the year. That day when Ino decided to sit with her, she didn't know how much of an impact she had on Hinata's life. Hinata moved to the chalkboard, erasing the lecture notes and some scribbles her classmates had done after class was over. Yes, she would forever be grateful to Ino. She was her first female friend and that really meant a lot to Hinata. Her thoughts were shattered when the door opened once more, revealing Naruto. A light gasp escaped her lips before she resumed erasing the board. Hinata hadn't spoken to Naruto since their time at the library, and she found herself slipping back to old habits, avoiding him. She hadn't meant to do so. After the whole scene she witnessed with he and Sakura, and that little weird bit about him thinking Shikamaru was pining away for her, she couldn't help it. He entered, but he didn't say anything to her, much to her relief and yet disappointment. She heard him rummaging through something. Most likely his desk. It was possible he had forgotten something. Unable to stay in the same room, Hinata thought that she'd go fetch a bucket of water and a washcloth to wipe the board clean. Right when she reached the door, Naruto had called out to her and she froze. "What's up with you? Huh?" Hinata finally willed herself to turn around, leaning on the door for support just in case her legs decided to give out on her in this moment. Naruto was sitting on one of the desks closest to the door and had his arms folded. He was almost glaring at her, and his mouth was not smiling at her like it usually did. If anything, it looked like it was on its way to becoming a scowl. He was annoyed. "Don't, me. Why are you ignoring me?" Hinata heard aggression in Naruto's voice all the time, when he was roughhousing with friends or when he was particularly upset about something or at someone. She had never heard the aggression in his voice when he was speaking to her. This was new, and she was positive that she never wanted to get on Naruto's bad side again, for as long as she lived. "I am not ignoring you." She managed to stutter. Of course it was a lie. Why had she bothered to tell it? Even Naruto could see it, and he grit his teeth. "I'm not that stupid, Hinata. Don't lie to me. Did I do something to you or something?" What was she supposed to say? Tell him that she was really offended when he and Sakura shared that one moment during the fireworks? Of course she couldn't. She opened her mouth to say something, but nothing came out. She tried to think of something, anything. Nothing came to her. "Didn't I say that if you had a problem, you should talk to me? It's really annoying when you ignore me, you know? And you're doing that thing you always do with the... See, you're doing it again. Look me in the eye when we talk." Naruto cried, and her eyes quickly darted to his. His steely gaze softened when he noticed how red her cheeks were and how she was on the verge of tears. Maybe he took it a bit too far. His gaze shifted towards the window and he sighed. "I'm sorry, Hinata. I didn't mean to yell like that," he began, "It's just, I go on thinking we're good friends and then I see you actively trying to get away from me." His voice trailed off, and Hinata could feel a pang in her heart. Did she really hurt him that much? She had no idea. To be frank, she didn't think Naruto cared enough or would notice. Naruto obviously took his friendships very seriously. Goes to show what kind of friend I am. I didn't do it on purpose. She finally spoke up, and Naruto returned his attention towards her. She also willed herself to look at him. "I'm scared that I'll annoy you by hanging around you so often. And I've never really had a group of friends before, so I didn't want to impose. I'm so sorry. It was such a terrible lie, but it was the only thing of at the time." Naruto seemed to believe her, and he smiled faintly before leaving his seat on the desk. He walked towards her and grabbed hold of her hands. They were warm, as always. Her face reddened in embarrassment at how close they were, but Naruto didn't seem to mind, because he never minded, so she didn't protest. "Don't keep thinking stuff like that. I like talking to you, you know. And, oi Naruto, what takes you so long to find some damn papers?" Shikamaru had entered from the door in the front of the classroom while Hinata was leaning on the back door. It was silent for a while as Shikamaru took in the scene before him. Naruto had both of her hands in his, and was a little too close to Hinata, as usual. Hinata looked as if she were crying, and that slightly alarmed Shikamaru. "What are you doing?" "Oh shit," Naruto mumbled, as if things couldn't get any worse. Now Naruto-kun is positive Shikamaru-kun likes me by the skeptical look he threw at us when he walked into the classroom that day. He also thinks that's the reason I've been avoiding him, for Shikamaru-kun's sake. Every time we sit to have lunch or something, and Shikamaru-kun walks in, Naruto-kun scrambles to get away from me. It's insane. Then Shikamaru-kun shoots me. What's wrong with him this time? Look, and I just smile awkwardly. Every time. I haven't even gotten a chance to speak with him since that day, and it's killing me. I want to tell him about what Naruto-kun told me over the summer. I want to tell him why this is happening, but I just can't seem to get a hold of him when I need to. I want to scream. This has been going on for a week now and I'm not sure how to go about fixing it. I've thought about texting Shikamaru-kun the situation, but this is something that I have to do face to face. We can't read each other as clearly through text messaging as we can in person. Ino questioned me about it yesterday too, so of course I had to tell her everything. Well, not everything, since I haven't told her about my crush on Naruto-kun. Not that I needed to, she sort of guessed it, but the fact that he thinks Shikamaru-kun likes me. Ino nearly choked on her drink and then laughed the hardest I've ever heard her laugh. Shikamaru should totally play on that just to mess with Naruto. But I told her that wouldn't be nice and it would give false impressions. But when I said that, she stopped laughing and looked me right in the eyes. "Do you? No way. You like Naruto." I always suspected it, but my suspicions were never confirmed until now. Is what she said. Maybe I'm not as good at hiding my feelings as I thought I was. I didn't confirm it or deny it, but Ino didn't need me to. She already knew and there was no changing that. I feel a little weird about it though, not telling her earlier. Maybe it would have helped. Ino did say that she was a great matchmaker after all. But we are holding a sleepover at my house, just the two of us, to talk about boy problems. It was her idea, but I didn't mind. I never had that kind of thing before, so when I agreed to it, I was ready to be a stereotypical teenage girl. "Hinata, come on," Ino cried, jogging in place by the door. It was Friday afternoon and school had just ended. Ino was going to spend the weekend at Hinata's house, just like they had planned. Ino wouldn't stop talking about it for the entire week, and it seemed that everyone at school knew what their plans were. It was kind of flattering to know that Ino wasn't so embarrassed with her to keep it a secret. "Calm down, Ino. My house isn't going anywhere." Hinata laughed. "That's not fair. I wasn't even allowed to turn the corner and see the house. Why do you get to go in?" Naruto cried, pointing a finger at Ino. Hinata wondered if the ban of the estate still stood or was it just a one-time thing Neji said that time Naruto walked her home. "Of course it's fair," Ino smiled, her hands on her hips. "You're a guy her father doesn't know. Going over to her house out of the blue looks suspicious." A mischievous smile played on her lips as her eyes narrowed. "Or do you want to go to Hinata's house in my place and spend the night with her?" Suddenly, Ino could feel small hands on her back guiding her out of the classroom and down the hall. "Bye Naruto-kun, see you on Monday." Hinata called out from the hallway. Wait a sec. He didn't answer my question. Ino whined. You can't invite people over to my house. Naruto blinked before letting out a small chuckle. Girls were really weird. He wasn't quite sure what girls did at sleepovers, but knowing Ino, they'd certainly talk about fashion and boys. Boys. Naruto wondered if they were going to talk about Shikamaru's crush on Hinata. Ino and Shikamaru were really close, so Ino had to have known. And Hinata seemed like a completely different person around Ino than she was around him. Maybe it was because Ino was a girl, and she could tell her about her feelings better than she could tell Naruto. He could just see it. So, when do you think Shikamaru will confess to you? Ino would say, a cat-like grin on her face. Hinata would blush like usual and place her hands on her cheeks, swaying from side to side. Oh, I don't know. But I hope it's soon. I really like him. Do you? Then you should confess. But how? Hinata would gasp and then Ino would hand her a cell phone. Be bold. Call him and let him know your true feelings. Hinata would be reluctant at first, but then she'd called him and explain her feelings while Ino squealed. Actually, that scene was debatable. Naruto wasn't sure about Hinata's feelings towards Shikamaru. He smacked his forehead in annoyance. How stupid was he? He should have asked her, are you just gonna stand there all day or what? Shikamaru's voice called out to him. Snapping out of his thoughts, Naruto shot a smile at him. Hey, Shikamaru, let's have a sleepover. The prodigy cringed before turning right around and walking down the hall. No, he said flatly. Naruto raced after him. Wait up, don't just brush me off. Today was really fun, Hinata-chan. Your house is really amazing. Hinata only smiled. She had given Ino a tour of her home, and then they spent the day playing with Hanabi and bothering Neji. The two had just finished their bath and were both in their pajamas, relaxing on Hinata's soft bed. Since the bath, it was the first time that the two were finally alone, and that meant they could finally have the conversation that Ino was just itching to have. So, Ino started, with a hint of mischief in her voice, Naruto? Hinata sighed, clutching her pillow closer to her. It was such a long story, she didn't know where to begin. The beginning of the year seemed like a nice place to start, so Hinata told Ino everything, about the trip to the mall, about the walk home, about Shikamaru's warning. Everything over summer vacation and the most recent even, Shikamaru walking in on them. Ino took in everything, adding a couple of girly squeals and ahs when needed. When Hinata finally ended her story, Ino looked at her as if she had been in deep thought the entire time. So, I can see why you'd be jealous and upset. He's all over you one moment and then the next he's moved on to forehead. You won't tell Haruno-san about it, will you? Hinata asked meekly. Ino shook her head. Of course not, that'd be really mean. To be honest, I don't know what Sakura's feelings are towards him. Sure, Ino teased Sakura about Naruto a lot, and while her reactions usually consisted of yelling or scoffing, Ino noticed that once in a while Sakura would tell her to shut up underneath her breath, and her reactions had no energy at all. Ino used to think that Sakura was tired of all of it, but after Hinata told her about the moment those two had, maybe she was wrong. Don't ask her, Hinata said suddenly. I mean, even if you do, I don't want to know. Ino nodded. Yeah, sure, but why Naruto though? I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a nice guy and all, but he doesn't really pick up on feelings and you're kind of out of his league. Almost too good for him. So why? Why indeed? Well, it's like you said. He's a really nice guy. He's very brave and never gives up on people, and he's really sweet. He's also funny and I think he's really cute. Hinata's face had reddened at that point and Ino gave a good-natured chuckle. There was a vibration on the bed, and Hinata looked down to find that she had a text message. She picked it up to take a look at it and gasped. It's from Naruto-kun, but at this time? It was almost midnight. Why was he texting her so late? Let me see. Ino moved over next to Hinata to get a good look at her phone as she opened the text message. It read, Oi, Hinata. Weird question. You don't like Shikamaru, do you? You know, like have a crush on him or anything? Hinata and Ino exchanged looks before Hinata let out a sigh of exasperation and Ino laughed rather loudly. He had to be kidding, right? Why does he still insist on asking about her and Shikamaru? There was nothing between them besides their very recent friendship, that was it. Is he jealous or something? Ino giggled. Jealous? Of course not. He couldn't be. He was just being slightly nosy is all. Don't play with my emotions, Ino. No, seriously. I mean, it's midnight right now. Why is he texting you about a crush that you don't have on one of his friends? He's gotta feel something. Well, what do I say? Do I answer truthfully? No. Run circles around him. Ask him why he wants to know. And so Hinata asked just that. They waited another 5 minutes before Hinata's phone vibrated again. She was too nervous to open the message, but Ino encouraged her. I mean, because he likes you, doesn't he? And if you like him too, wouldn't it be nice if you two were a couple? What is he? A matchmaker? Ino cried. Hinata only sighed. Ask him why he cares. He never cares about relationships unless it's about billboard brow. But I couldn't ask him that. Clenching her fists, the blonde frowned. Hinata, this is a big chance to find out how he feels. You have to, or else you'll never know. Ino was right. She'd never know if she was too afraid to ask the important questions. She breathed heavily, before typing out the characters as Ino had told her and reluctantly hit the send button. This time the reply was taking longer. Had she scared him off? Oh no, maybe she had been a little too pushy. The sound of the phone buzzing again pierced through Hinata's thoughts as she scrambled to pick up the phone. I don't know actually. Ino opened her mouth to scream. What do you mean you don't know? But a sound never came out of her mouth. It was Hinata who did the yelling. She was obviously flustered and very annoyed, as she should be. Here was this guy that she had the hugest crush on, asking about this non-existent crush on a boy they both happened to be friends with, and when she asks him why he cares, he says he doesn't know. Just what planet was Uzumaki Naruto from anyway? Because it certainly wasn't Earth. The two went back and forth in their texting before Hinata ultimately gave up trying to understand how his brain worked. Boys were so weird. It was Monday, and Hinata needed to have a word or two with Uzumaki-san. The only problem was that Naruto was having a conversation with Shikamaru, and as soon as she'd try to get over there, Naruto would most likely hightail out of there. She could always say that Shikamaru was needed elsewhere, but communicate silently with him, giving him the, I really need to Naruto, look. And he'd shrug and be on his way, leaving them to talk alone. Yes, this was perfect. Mustering up all the courage she could, Hinata walked over to them, forcing a small smile onto her face. Excuse me, she began, but to her surprise, Shikamaru beat her to the punch. Oh, Hinata, just the person I needed to talk to. He didn't sound like he needed to talk to her, what with all the laziness in his voice. He told Naruto that he'd talk to him later, pressing his hand lightly on the small of Hinata's back and guiding her out of the classroom. Geez, her plan had failed before it even started. They were ways away from their classroom before coming to a halt. Hinata finally faced Shikamaru, frowning. He didn't seem to care though. So, what's wrong with Naruto? I mean, there's always something wrong in that troublesome idiot's brain for sure, but this is different. Sighing, Hinata mumbled, he thinks you like me. When she looked up at him, his gaze seemed to harden. Seriously? He asked incredulously. Seriously. She said flatly. And he didn't think to ask me about it? He just went off telling you about his weird imagination? Hinata was dumbfounded. Naruto didn't ask Shikamaru about it at all? She was starting to feel a headache coming on. I think he didn't want to hurt your feelings or anything. Shikamaru rolled his eyes. Don't defend his stupidity, Hinata. Sheesh, that guy's too troublesome. He shoved his hands into pockets of his pants, leaning against the wall. When Shikamaru took a glance at Hinata, his posture straightened a bit. What's wrong? Hinata told him about what had happened over the weekend and about the time in the classroom. Shikamaru seemed to be at a loss for words. What do you think he meant by all of that? Ino is so positive that he cares, but I don't know. Shikamaru thought on it for a while, his eyes closed. I know it sounds shitty, but don't expect much from it. It sounds like he just wanted to pry. Yeah, I knew it sounded too good to be true. She laughed. It was a bitter laugh, one that sent shivers up his spine. Like I said, don't stress about it. Then, Shikamaru walked in the direction of their classroom with Hinata trailing behind him. I should have known. I'm so embarrassed that I even thought that Naruto-kun would even care about the possibility that I was in love with someone else. No use moping about it now. Especially not during class. I can have a pity party with Ino later. So, any nominations for what we want to do as a class for the culture festival? Neji asked. He was currently standing at the teacher's podium with a piece of chalk in his right hand. Since he was the student council president, Neji took on the task of facilitating the conversation. This year, he didn't have students screaming at him left and right on what they should do, surprisingly. It was silent for a moment, and his eyes rested on Hinata, who was looking a little less cheerful than normal. Noted. Suddenly, Sai's hand shot up and Neji acknowledged him. "I'd like to do a cafe, please." Neji nodded and turned to write the characters of the word cafe on the board. "Why? They're so boring. Let's do something fun like carnival games." Naruto mused, leaning back in his chair. "Uzumaki-san, if you have an objection, raise your hand." Neji frowned. "But you see, the reason why I want to do the cafe is because of this," Sai said, pulling out the comic he finished over the summer. A loud thud could be heard from the side of the room where the windows were. Hinata had slammed her head down on the desk out of embarrassment. "Absolutely not," Neji argued. "Agreed." Sakura spoke up. "You just want all the girls to wear them while the boys do absolutely nothing. No girl here wants to wear." "I'll wear it. It's so cute." Ino chimed in and Sakura groaned. Sai shot Sakura a smile. "Don't worry, ugly, you won't have to wear it since it isn't designed for your body shape." "What the hell did you just say to me?" The pink-haired beast was now raging with fury as Naruto and a few other students attempted to hold her back. "Sai, I told you that's not a good nickname," Naruto hissed. Sai actually looked genuinely surprised. "Oh, then should I just call you Forehead like Ino does? Let me go. I'll kill him." Ino only chuckled at Sakura's even bigger outburst. "Sorry Sai, but that nickname's reserved for me only. You'll have to try again," Ino said in a sing-song voice. "Ah, shoot. I'll come up with something soon Sakura, you don't need to be angry," Sai reassured her. The side of Naruto's face was beginning to be squished by Sakura's foot as she tried to leap across the desks to obliterate Sai. "Sai, that's not even remotely close to why she's angry," he managed to murmur. "Ahem, if we could get back on topic, please," Neji asked, already annoyed. "I actually want to do the cafe. It looks like fun," one of the girls had called out. A few other students agreed. "No, I want to do something else," another argued. Soon, the class was in uproar about this stupid cafe that Neji came to despise quickly. "Shut up and sit down. All of you," Neji barked, and everyone did as instructed, even Sakura, though she did so reluctantly. Clearing his throat, Neji was able to compose himself. "Okay, since everyone seems to be on opposing sides on this, let's take a vote. All those who are unopposed, raise your hands." At that moment Hinata lifted her head up to see who was all for it, but she didn't get far at all when her so-called best friend happened to have his hand raised. "You too, Kiba-kun? Oh, come on. I actually read it. The art is fantastic and the storyline and plot is really complex and unexpected." He grinned. "Traitor," was all Hinata could mumble. 15, 16. Neji finished counting. "Well, since there's only 30 people in this class and 16 of you want this cafe, it's decided. We're doing the cafe," Neji said begrudgingly. Cheers and groans of annoyance filled the air. "So, who exactly is going to make these costumes, Sai?" Neji questioned. "Oh, I know a guy. And so now we get to see Hinata in a cool magical girl outfit," Kiba said, taking a sip of his juice box. He and Hinata decided to have lunch with Shino today in his classroom. Shino usually came to them but their classroom was rather noisy. "No, I don't want to, it's embarrassing." "That sounds really fun." "That is because it is a group effort." Shino nodded. Hinata groaned. "What's your class doing, Shino?" Kiba asked. Shino took a bite out of his lunchbox before speaking. "We're doing a food stand, but I don't really care much for it. I will say that the entomology club is holding a lecture and lab on different types of insects." "That is because..." "No, Shino-kun. No more talking about bugs during lunchtime," Hinata cried. She didn't really like bugs, but Shino was always fond of them, so she and Kiba always showed their support. Hinata only had 2 rules when it came to Shino's bugs. Rule number 1. Do not speak about bugs while eating. Rule number 2. Do not let bugs out of the containers unless she was 25 feet away from them. Other than that, she was moderately okay with them. Shino nodded. "Sorry about that." It was silent for a moment before Shino spoke up again. "Isn't the basketball club holding team games for outsiders to play?" "Yup." Kiba grinned enthusiastically. "We're doing it outside too. It'll be great. Hopefully we'll get new recruits too." The shaggy-haired teen then fixed his gaze on Hinata. Hinata's a part of the Go Home Club, so she isn't doing anything. He teased. You're too mean, Kiba-kun. I actually thought of joining a club, but I'm unsure. Shino and Kiba exchanged looks before drawing their attention to Hinata. And what club is that? Oh, it's the art club. As much as she didn't want to admit it right now, what Naruto told her over summer break really stuck with her. She was a good cook, and excellent at knitting as well as other arts and crafts. She really wanted to hone her skills, and maybe she could do something with her life that she actually loved to do. Ah, that's really nice, Hinata. That is because, now you can make all kinds of cool things for us, right? Kiba laughed, completely cutting Shino off. Hinata blinked. But I already make a ton of stuff for you guys. Yes, I still have those pink mittens and socks you knitted for me for Christmas 2 years ago. Shino said. Hinata remembered making those along with the matching sweaters she made for Kiba and Akamaru too. Akamaru had used up all of her black and red yarn, and pink was all that she had on such short notice. She was a little embarrassed handing them to him, and even Kiba laughed, but Shino really appreciated them and said that they would help him stand out. She was relieved to know that he didn't throw them away. Do you really? I outgrew my sweater actually. Kiba smiled sheepishly. Oh, I can make a new one for you. It's gotten a lot colder since it's almost November now. No, save it for Christmas. Then we can all have a Christmas party and exchange presents. Hinata nodded. Hopefully the three of them could spend Christmas together again. They weren't able to last time since Hinata's family took a trip out of the country. Oh, class is about to start, said Shino quietly. Crap, come on Hinata, let's go. Later Shino. Hinata was in her bedroom, finishing up some homework when a knock on the door tore her from her work. Oh, come in. Please excuse me, Neji said, entering her room. There's something I wanted to talk to you about. Hinata tilted her head to the side. Something you wanted to talk to her about? I must have been really important for him to enter her room. Usually, he'd just text her since their rooms were on different floors. I noticed you looking a little down earlier in class, right when homeroom began. Did something happen? Right when homeroom began? Oh no, that was right after she and Shikamaru had that conversation about Naruto. Had she really been that obvious? She was starting to get sloppy about hiding her emotions. But Ino had taught her a trick. Ino said that when you lie, you need to stare them right between the eyes. Hinata thought to utilize it here and now. Nothing happened, not that I remember anyhow. She lied. Obviously Ino lied to her too, because Neji wasn't buying it. He just stared at her with more intensity until she finally cracked. Okay, I was sad earlier, but I can't tell you why. Uzumaki? Hinata bit her bottom lip. Did everyone just happen to know? Hinata, Neji began, placing a hand on her shoulder. I don't understand why you go through such great lengths for this guy. Is it really worth it? The dark-haired teen sighed. Was it worth it? I don't know anymore. I say I like all these things about him, but why do I struggle so much for a guy who will never look at me the same way that I look at him? And everyone's asked me this question a bunch of times in 100 different ways. What do you see in him? Why do you like him? Why him though? There are tons of better people out there? And I always defend why I like him. But should I still like him if it makes me miserable? Should I still like him if he runs circles around me and leaves me confused? At one point, I was proud to have a crush on Naruto-kun. I admired him in every way, and I always felt a wave of confidence wash over me when he'd cheer everyone on for any event we were participating in. Now, I don't want to like him, but I do, and it makes me upset. I hate the way that he's always on my mind, and I hate the way that I tense up when I hear his voice or when he touches me. I want to get him out of my head. I want this stupid infatuation or whatever it is to just go away and never come back so that I can finally just be normal for once in my life. Boys should never be stressed over, and yet here I am, lying on my bed doing exactly that. I hate how he makes me feel, but I could never hate him. And that really makes me resent myself sometimes. How am I supposed to be able to better myself as a person if I don't like myself because of this stupid obsession I have over a boy? One who didn't really know I existed until quite recently actually. I don't know what's wrong with me. It's like, I take one step forward and 2 steps back. Sure, making friends was a huge step for me, but I also wanted to like myself and it isn't even working. And to make things worse, I've been trying my hardest not to avoid him. Because that actually makes him upset. And of course I don't want to upset him, so I just grit my teeth and hold idle chit-chat with him. Of course, Naruto-kun will suspect that something isn't right sooner or later and he'll argue with me and ask why, but I just can't bring myself to tell him, hey, I really like you and it really hurts to like you, so I'm trying to remove myself from you. Would that even be a confession? I don't know. All I know is that I want to be able to finally get away from this stressful situation. I think I should start knitting Kiba-kun's sweater to do that. Oh, but I don't know his measurements. I think in the meantime, I'll knit him a hat that will keep his ears warm. Wow, Hinata-chan, you look great in that, Ino chirped. It was the day of the culture festival and everyone had more or less finished changing into their outfits. Hinata's costume was slightly different than all the other girls and was the color blue while everyone else's were pink. Sai explained that it was because the heroine of his comic was based heavily off of Hinata's looks and somewhat of her personality, so it made sense that she would have to stand out among the rest of her peers. Thanks. It's kind of embarrassing though. You look really nice too, Ino. And Hinata wasn't lying. It seemed that Ino could pull off anything that she wore, which Hinata kind of envied. Hey, you two. Stop chit-chatting and get ready to start working. Neji scolded. Sai actually had outfits for the boys too. They were similar to what Hinata wore, but the sleeves were less puffy, and they wore vests and slacks too. Today, the boys were looking a lot more sophisticated than normal. Whatever you say, Neji-chan tilde. Ino teased, mimicking Hanabi in the process before she skipped off with Hinata. It didn't take a genius to figure out that Neji was quite embarrassed by the large blush on his face, and stunned since he didn't have a comeback lined up. Hinata let out a small giggle. Where's Sai anyway? Hinata questioned, as she finished setting up one of the tables. Ino scoffed. He's outside, shamelessly self-promoting his comic and getting people to come in. Sai's got a pretty face, but he's pretty rude without knowing it. You should go out there and give him a hand. Hinata nodded and parted ways with Ino to assist Sai. When she walked out to explain the situation, he looked her up and down before looking at his own comic. Oh, I think the expression of her face is different from the one you have now. Huh? While drawing this character, I looked at the photos I took of you over the summer as a face reference. Your expressions looked much more energetic in the photos. Shoot, even Sai was onto her. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll try to do my best. She smiled. Actually, I wanted to tell you that. Oh, welcome to our cafe. Please come in. Hinata greeted a couple, trying to get them to visit the cafe. It seemed that luck was on her side today, because the woman murmured, "How cute," before taking one of Sai's sample comics and heading inside. So, I wanted to tell you that I'm going to join the art club. Oh, I didn't know you wanted to join. Why's that? Well, welcome. I just thought it would be a lot of fun and I was wondering if you'd help teach me a few things since you're really talented. At that moment, Sai scratched the back of his head sheepishly. How embarrassing. What's embarrassing? Naruto had walked up to them, and he was dressed in his costume for today. A light blush hit Hinata's cheeks as she stared for a second too long before averting her gaze. He looked so handsome. That outfit doesn't suit you at all, Sai said rather bluntly, and Naruto cringed. And whose fault is it that I'm wearing this stupid thing? Against her better judgment, Hinata spoke up in her usual soft voice, I think you look nice. Why'd she say that? She could have said a million other things, or she could have even kept her mouth shut, but no. Her mouth was a traitor, letting secrets out of her brain one moment but not being able to confess her feelings the next. However, much to Hinata's surprise, Naruto's cheeks had turned a light pink color and he scratched the side of his face, averting his own gaze from her. I know you're just trying to be nice, but thanks. It's not really my style at all. Well, wonders never ceased. Naruto was actually embarrassed about being in that getup almost as much as she was. Sai nodded. Yes, Hinata is too nice. Why you, Uzumaki-san, hurry up and come help us in here. One of the students' voices called out from the classroom. You're not off the hook yet. Naruto scowled at Sai before entering the classroom. The two spent a while greeting guests as Hinata led them in before Sai spoke to her again. Did you see something you liked earlier? Sai inquired, his head cocked to the side. Hinata's posture slumped and she frowned. This is the second time you've asked me that and I'm starting to think you're not joking anymore. The pale-skinned artist only replied with a strange giggle. There were only 15 students working the cafe, and the rest were out enjoying the rest of the culture festival. Neji slightly envied them. He had to work all day for his class today, and tomorrow, He was in charge of introductions for stage performers in the auditorium. There didn't seem to be a nice break in his future where he could just relax and hang out with friends from a different class. Not that he'd ever admit it to Lee and Tenton. They'd never shut up about any soft sides he may have had. A gruff voice called out to him, erasing his thoughts. "Oi, Neji. I'm going on my break now. Sakura-chan and Ino just got back from theirs. Today, Naruto was working quite diligently," Neji had to say. He didn't even have to yell at him once. "Yeah, just make sure your break is no more than 20 minutes long." The sliding of the door forced Neji to glance in that direction. Hinata had entered and was looking a bit tired. It couldn't be helped, since she had to get everyone to come inside and was basically being gawked at by most who laid eyes on her. It was really annoying. He couldn't do anything about it. "Oh, Hinata. Hiyashi called me earlier. He should be here in 5 minutes or so." Hinata tensed as she heard her father's name. Naruto, who was just about ready to go on break, was confused. "Hiyashi? Hinata's father and my uncle." Neji explained. "I can't stay here if he's coming. Neji Nissan. Please allow me to go on break." Hinata was frantic, and for good reason too. If her father saw her dressed the way she was, he'd never let her leave the estate. She'd have to be homeschooled. "Is it that bad if he comes here?" Naruto asked. Hinata could see it now. "Welcome to our cafe," Hinata would say in a sing-song voice, tilting her head to the side. "How may we sir father?" Hiyashi would look his daughter up and down before cringing and balling up his fists. Hinata, my pure and innocent daughter. What is this that you have on?" It's a magical girl outfit." She'd stutter. "A what?" He'd suddenly grab her wrist tightly. "Who was it? Whose idea was this? I'll sue the school. You're never coming out of the house again. Do you hear me, Hinata?" "Yes, very." Hinata nodded vigorously. Neji hummed in thought for a moment before opening his eyes. "I guess it can't be helped. I'll find someone to take your spot outside then." "I can do it for you, Hina-chan tilde?" Ino piped in. "We wouldn't want to upset Papa Hyuga, now would we?" "Don't call him that, it's weird." Neji scolded. Naruto gave a sympathetic smile. "If that's the case, then do you want to wear my tracksuit jacket? It might be kinda big, but it should cover you just in case we run into him on our break." Hinata agreed quickly and Naruto handed her his jacket. She zipped it up all the way to her neck before waving goodbye to Ino and Neji. The jacket sleeves were long enough to cover her hands and big enough so that she was moderately covered, even though Naruto wasn't taller than her by that much. Now that she realized it, she was actually spending her break with Naruto, and it was killing her. She was so wrapped up in trying to get away from her father that she didn't even notice. "So, do you not like your dad or something?" Naruto asked, breaking the silence between them. Hinata shook her head softly. "No, it's nothing like that. He's just a very overprotective father, and if he saw me dressed like this, he'd raise hell for sure." "Overprotective?" Naruto repeated. "Even more so than Neji?" Naruto shivered at the thought. No wonder Hinata was so shy. She had people like that watching her like a hawk, so of course no one wanted to approach her. But he's really cool in his own way. Neji Nissan learned everything he knows about martial arts from my father, and he hasn't even learned everything yet. "Ah, Naruto-kun, are you okay?" Naruto looked the palest Hinata had ever seen him, even paler than Sai. "Your family's really scary, Hinata." Now he was definitely sure they were the reason no one approached her. "Really? They're not so bad." Hinata mumbled and Naruto hastily searched for a way to make her feel better. "Well, I'm sure they're not. I'm just saying, are you okay, kid?" A little girl had fallen right in front of them, scraping her knee in the process. The two of them had kneeled down to help the child up, who had started to cry. No, I lost my daddy and now I can't find him." Naruto and Hinata exchanged looks of worry before returning their attention to the girl. Hinata wanted to fix the scrape on her knee first, but Naruto had pulled out a handkerchief from his pocket, wiping the little girl's tears with it. "Don't worry, little sis, we'll find your dad for you. I'll even pinky promise on it." He grinned. There was a light sparkle in his eye when he said this, and when the little girl accepted, he gave her the warmest of smiles. They walked to the infirmary to get the child's knee patched up first, and for the first time in a long time, Hinata wasn't feeling nervous or intimidated by Naruto. She just felt warmth radiating from him. "I know now. I know why he's worth it." On that day, it felt like I was falling in love all over again. The way he was so nurturing towards that little girl, And when he cleaned her cut for her and carried her on his back, it was so refreshing to see. When our break was over and we still hadn't found him, Naruto-kun took her to our classroom and watched over her until her father got word that we were looking for him and came into our classroom. Everyone teased him, calling him Naruto ni-chan, and he got a little embarrassed. It was so cute, and when I watched him, I realized why I like him so much. Naruto-kun goes out of his way to make people feel good when they're visibly upset or hurt. He gives up so much of himself to make others smile, and I can tell that he loves doing it by the way that his eyes shined. Naruto-kun is a very good person. I'm glad that I was able to see that. I think I needed to see it. I think that's why he asked for my feelings on Shikamaru-kun when he did. He really wanted us to be happy. Sure, he was mistaken, but he cared enough to try to not step on any toes and tried to make sure that we felt the same way about each other before going any further. Naruto-kun does care. Maybe not from a romantic standpoint, but he does care about all of his friends. He cares about Haruno-san the most, but it's okay. I'm just glad I fell in love with such a nice person.
That's all for now. If you want to see next part, then please like this video and subscribe my channel. Thank you.